Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turners. I'm here with Matt Murray.
Hey, good to be here, Dave.
Hey, good to see you, Matt. Yeah, how you doing? You all right?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful.
Oh, who's that over there? It's Sean Dingerling Bell.
Hey, Dave, how's it hanging? A little bit to the left again, yeah?
Hey, you cheeky little monkey. You know I don't need to talk like about that in public. And James Farley is back from holiday. How you doing, James?
You're right.
Oh, for fuck. You fucking cunt. What?
Unbelievable. Absurd.
James, welcome back. How are you doing?
All right. Not bad. Yeah, it's fine.
Good. All right, off to a flyer. James Farley, off to a flyer. He was on the bonus show this week, listeners. Yeah, on the bonus show this week, listeners, he was saying, I was worried that Sarah was really good, and I was worried that you were lining me up to be replaced. Well, you know, we weren't before, but now. Starting to think about it, let's start the show by announcing our Patreon producers this month. They are Aaron Patrick, Simon Nelson, Tom S., Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gazman, Gabby Pereira, Graham Mackay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Man, Rocketman76, and my dog Skip. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and you too can support the show by going to patreon.com/TCGS. Various different tiers, Matt. Do you want to go through them? Mention the tiers. Go on. What tiers can they have?
For like £4.50 and above, you get the exclusive Patreon bonus show podcast where we talk about everything.
You ain't gonna hear that nowhere else. This is exclusive, bruv. It's exclusive.
Literally nowhere. Not even on not even recorded onto cassette and sold at a dodgy market. No. Not even there.
It's not there.
Do
you think there's any torrents?
Oh yeah, we are top of the charts on the Pirate Bay.
Shut up.
I was just wondering. We're all over Kazaa, mate.
Yeah. LimeWire.
And LimeWire,
yeah. And then
what the fuck are you doing to us?
And then for £8.50 and above, you can watch us do a live talks over a month before
you can watch that.
Anyone else on YouTube.
Right. That's right. You can watch that. You can just watch that live while we're there. All right? Think of that.
It's almost like having mates.
Yeah, just like really shit, mate. Go on.
And if you want to go for the top one, it's £33.50 to be a full Nels member. I'm not sure what I've called it on the actual website anymore, but it doesn't matter because you can go full. And obviously, you get all the other benefits as well. It's not just that. Obviously, that's the main part, but it's the other benefits.
Do indeed. Remember, these prices that Matt are mentioning do not include tax, and remember to wait until the month ticks over before you sign up to avoid getting charged twice.
Your mortgage may go up as well. Down if you sign. Also, you get every other previous podcast as well, not just the ones you subscribe. Moving forward, you get everything on there. All right. There's a lot to listen to.
Cool. All right. So thank you for supporting us on Patreon. James, you weren't here last week. As tradition goes, you must give your comments and feedback to last week's show. Let's hear it.
See, this is really difficult because I've genuinely got nothing because I thought it was a great show.
Excellent.
And no, I thought it was a really good show and I didn't have anything to really complain about apart from you goading Sarah to try and say horrible things about me. I mean, what was that about?
It's part of the show, isn't it? It's part of the show.
It's a little thing, James, called banter.
Yeah. Have you not heard of that word?
Yeah, but you're just like bringing people in and doing it as well now. It's like I expect it from you guys, but it's like it's a bit much.
Do you think it's out of order then to sort of dig into someone when they're not on the show to defend themselves?
I think it is if they're not a host of the show. Like all the time, you know. I think.
Right. It can only be me, so it's just me that can get that. The 4 podcasts that you put out doing exactly that, while I wasn't even able to listen to them, let alone be on them.
I wouldn't say we're slacking them off. I would say we're bringing the truth to the listener.
All we were doing with that was just bringing the truth and highlighting what was going on.
It wasn't actually true, though, was it?
Well, I didn't know. It looks like you're on your consoles quite a lot for someone who's trying to avoid the internet.
Signing into Xbox Live. Signing into Xbox Live on your
I'm
iPhone.
On TikTok again. Oh, is that YouTube? Sorry about that. Whoa, PSN. Hello, Xbox.
Remember when James was on the Switch when he was supposed to be offered? Didn't bring that up either because I totally forgot about it.
Wasn't in the country at that time, was I, Dave?
It's a portable console. It's actually a portable console, isn't it, that one? So I'd left it with my children to play it with.
Why are you on every network on the planet, David?
Why were they playing weird sort of text adventures, James? Should we get onto the listeners' feedback, Matt? They all love it last week, did they? They absolutely adored it.
Oh, yeah, they did, actually. This is a James special in terms of feedback, and he wasn't even here. So I'm also, actually, before we get into that, we got loads of lovely messages in Discord and tweets saying how good Sarah was, and Sarah was fantastic. So thank you once again, Sarah, for
that
really
does mean that
the show.
Will not have her on. We will not have her on for a number of years now because none of us likes being upstaged.
No,
to be quite honest,
too
with you.
good. So that's the problem.
Well done, Sarah.
Yeah.
You've talked yourself out of a podcast.
Yes, well mentioned on Twitter, but yeah, getting mugged off 12 minutes into my own show. Bit of a piss take. So,
rightly so, Matt.
What's that?
Rightly so.
Rightly so, yeah. Anyway, the Mayor of Canterbury has apparently emailed, what the fuck, James? You're leaving.
I thought that was James.
Good point. What the fuck, James? You're leaving. No call, no text. You're supposed to be cutting the ribbon and singing your mince pie song for the lights at Christmas. We cancelled Canterbury-born celebrity Orlando Bloom for you. Also, Murray's in full-on Super Metroid territory with his takedown of the Skyward Sword controls. It was clear from what he was saying that Matt wasn't flapping his controller to do the wings on the bird. If you flick left and right to control link on the balance, you can flick left and right to control link on the balance beams. Okay, you don't have to be the Mayor of Canterbury to know that. You just have to read what it says to do on screen. Keep up the good work, lads. We will absolutely love gathering around every Wednesday morning to listen in Canterbury Town Hall or wherever it is. So, thank you for the Mayor of Canterbury.
You missed two words off the end.
Whatever
it is Mayor's work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that sentence does not make sense.
No.
Yeah, I saw that and thought, I don't know what I mean, so I'm just gonna ignore that.
In Canterbury Town Hall or wherever it is Mayor's work.
Oh, wherever it is Mayor's work. Yeah, well, but that's a. You've got to see that for the gag to work. Anyway, whatever. Thank you for.
No,
what do you mean?
What?
Matt?
Do you do that a lot, Matt? Like when you're talking, just like you're reading something, you're just like, that doesn't make sense. I'm just going to stop talking. Before the sentence ends.
I'm just going to assume my failure to understand is their failure to communicate.
If you're looking at Matt, there's a big window just popped up on his belly, and it's with a big OK cancel button on it. You got to click that, and he reboots. Listen, what I like about that bit of feedback is that they've come into it thinking, I'm going to be the Mayor of Canterbury, great idea. Mm-hmm. I'm going to slag off James, slag off James, but make a joke about how he's leaving Canterbury. Mm-hmm. This is great. But halfway through it, I had to get that point across to Matt that he got the controls wrong in Zelda. Has the Mayor of Canterbury got a point there, Matt?
I don't know. I saw a few people in the week tweet saying, I don't know whether to even believe Matt. I haven't even played the game, nor do I own the Switch, but I still don't believe Matt. Well, I mean, maybe James is going to totally prove me wrong when he talks about it in what you've been playing, but yeah. I guess I need to
talking about it. Not going to be talking about that, no.
What?
I was going to say it's not on the.
I've barely touched it. And honestly,
really?
And whatever I say is going to be supportive of Matt, so I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah.
Why? Why is it supportive of Matt?
That was a joke, but no, it's partly a joke, but it's also true. I also think the thing with the right camera thing is ridiculous. It's very irritating. I agree with him on that.
But what about the flappy wings thing?
I haven't done that yet, so I don't know. No, I've got nowhere in the game yet, so not in time.
Okay, fully supportive of Matt. Matt, what's your response to this then? So did you get the controls wrong with the bird?
I haven't been on the bird since, but flapping the controller to do the wings on the bird sounds like something someone's telling me to do. I try and do it, and they're like, obviously you don't do that, Matt. I mean, I read all the controls. I mean, at that point, I wasn't using motion controls. I was using the Pro controller at first, and then I used motion controls. Anyway, either way, I don't remember seeing anything about flapping the controller. Maybe it's way easier. But anyway, fuck that bird.
You're not going back to that game, are you?
No, I played it in a week. Played a tiny little bit with Elodie. Yeah. And we were still kind of struggling with the motion controls. Maybe I might go back next to the button controls and see if that's any better. But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, William of Kent is the next one. Hello, gentlemen. News of Dr. Farley's departure from our humble town has come as a shock. My nephew, a devoted listener of your programme, told me that our dearest Dr. Farley will no longer light up Canterbury with a smile or regale us with captivating tales of his time as a video game journalist. Dr. Farley, please note that the Archbishop's cricket team will fondly remember how you would use the St. Lawrence ground to play Pokemon Go at the risk of being battered. Godspeed you, Dr. Farley, Godspeed.
James, this must be pretty amazing, getting all these local celebrities to come out and say they gutted you leaving, right?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit weird.
Am I right in thinking it would be more emotional if it wasn't like 2 months before you're due to actually move?
Yeah. No, they need to build up to it, man.
Well, no, we're going sooner than that. I mean, we're going like a couple of weeks probably. But yeah,
cool.
It's
what?
Soon.
What?
I'm sorry, what?
You're going?
Yeah, I'm going in. Well, no, we're okay. I don't want to talk about this. It's weird.
Well, you started now.
It's not weird at all. Why is it weird?
Well, no, we're currently looking at like the middle to the end of August, so it's like about 3 weeks or so.
Permanent move.
Yeah.
Hang on, the middle.
What the fuck? We're like your 3 closest friends, and you haven't told us this. This is how we're finding out.
I'm sure I told you.
Absolutely not.
No, he did. No, he has said August.
Yeah,
August that he was going over there, not that he was going to move. Like that was the move.
No, that's the permanent move time. I mean, it's.
Hang on,
James, sure gets it.
James, middle of August.
Yeah.
Oh, what? What about the Chelsea game?
No, that's still happening. It's after that. It's after that. Don't worry about that. That's all worked out.
All right, okay, we'll talk about that later. No one wants to hear about how you're going to the Chelsea game.
James, I'm going to the football together, aren't we, James?
Yeah, we are, yeah.
Have you actually got tickets then?
Yeah.
We have, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. It's boring for the show. But, so this is mad. I did not know you were moving. You've got to come up here before you go.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's only a few weeks. What are you doing?
It's about 3 weeks.
Definitely.
No, it's about 3 weeks.
I had no idea.
I thought, no, because I said to you... No, I said to you that we were going to go there, like, sort of in a couple of weeks with the kids, so they could kind of get used to it.
We got
and
that.
then we were going to come back, and then we were going to go permanently, like, towards the end of August, like, the beginning of September time. We've since discovered that we can't do this because the kids have to quarantine for 5 days, and so because they haven't had the vaccine. So there's no point in going there for, like, 6 days or a week or whatever, because they'll be locked in a hotel room for like 5 days. Mm-hmm. So we decided not to do that, and we're just going to go permanently towards the end of the month.
Because of the COVID rules in you
can't
no. Over.
I've got to believe that now.
So you're going to in 3 weeks.
Stop it.
And you're not coming back from
Can you stop
until So you're going to be stuck in for, but like I'm not going to see you because you're in. Is that right?
Can you stop doing that, please?
Yeah, I've got to edit this, Dave.
Yeah. Why do you think I'm doing it, Sean? Right,
I've just remembered I'm not editing this. Oh, you're going to.
Stop it. all I'll say, right, okay, without mentioning the location, I will point this out to our listeners. Shut up, man. I will mention this to our listeners. There's a time difference where James going, and it doesn't work in his favour. So I don't know what this show's going to be like in the last half an hour to an hour.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
You say that now, but you already moan about how late it is at the end of the show.
Come on, Dave. I did a couple of those when I was living in China, and I had to get up at 4 a.m. to do it, and it was fine.
Yeah, you
this
did
is
a couple
an hour.
of them, but we're talking every. You sound like those people that before they have kids go, "Yeah, I can stay up late and get up in the morning," and you're going, "Yeah, but can you do that every fucking day?" Yeah, and you do that every day.
It's 1 hour. I mean, I didn't even want to say that it was an hour because then it's like people know that it's like
that's true
in Europe somewhere. Which is good.
Do you know what's brilliant, right? So James is so freaked out about people knowing where he lives, right? He not only won't mention the country, he's also scared that people know what continent he's living in. What is the matter?
Yeah, because they might search every inch of that continent, saying, "Well, we know the time delay, no time difference. We'll find him. We'll find him."
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's get on to the next.
I thought you were aware of when it was. Sorry, I
wasn't aware that it was permanent from then.
No,
that's mad.
I'm gonna have to get my ass down to Canterbury now.
Stop it! No, everyone knows that already.
No, we're allowed to say that one.
Okay, all right, let's get on to the next bit of feedback.
Last bit is from Tingle My Jingle. James truly did an incredible job with his jingle for Farley's Fantasy Zone. Speaking for all the listeners, we implore the rest of you to create similar quality tunes for your respective sections of the podcast. Matt can make one for feedback and Sean's for questions. David should create one for the news section on James's behalf. Finally, you should do a group one for what have you been playing. I'm thinking Perfect Harmonies, a cappella style for this one. Keep up the good work, guys.
Oh man, this takes me back to when we did because Joypod was 90% jingles, I think, wasn't it? So like one of the rules we said when we started this was that we weren't going to do jingles, but maybe now that we've broken the seal, do we go ahead with it?
That was one of the things I remember when you were away. You know, when you were off the show for a bit, Dave. And then I was winding you up because we were talking about, like, you know, what we were doing with the show. And I was like, oh, we're just bedding in some jingles and stuff, you know, for this stuff. And you were, like, not sure if I was joking or not. And you were just like, I'm not very pleased about that as an idea.
it was a hard rule, wasn't it, when we started up? And now we've done it once. Maybe there'll be more jingles in the future. I don't really know why I brought that rule in.
Well,
I think it was just to say it was different.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you've said like you want like actually limited editing because you want it to sound more like a live podcast, a live radio show, but then jingles are a part of that. But
yeah,
I'm happy to not have jingles, but you know, FFZ was so good.
Quite does the editing.
I'm worried that any future jingle won't quite live up to the FFZ jingle, so
there is that.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Anyway,
that is it for feedback. It's James Farley special. If you want to leave us feedback or anything during the week or whenever you want, go to tcgs.co/deartcgs.
James Farley, let's go with the news, mate. Come on, let's hear it.
Okay. So you did well last week, Sean. By the way, I enjoyed the news.
Oh, thank you.
I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so there's been.
James, were you expecting that Sean was going to be like proper made up with that? Like, oh my God, James the news goblin Farley has commented on my news.
I'm secretly now texting my wife, but yeah.
You won't believe what he said. Down.
I was expecting
it's
a bit
making
more,
you hard to type on the touchscreen because you're crying all over the screen.
It's annoying that.
I was expecting a bit more, but never mind. Anyway, there's been some horrible stuff which has come out this week from Activision Blizzard. Basically, what's happened is that it all goes back to a lawsuit that's been filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing against the company for harassment and discrimination against women. And the suit that they put together has listed violations of the state's civil rights and equal pay laws. And it was the result of like a 2-year investigation into the studio and what they describe as being a frat boy culture and a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. I mean, I'm not going to go into like every single detail about all of the things that have happened there because I don't think it would sound very nice at all because it's just awful. But the lawsuit does describe this atmosphere where women have to continuously fend off unwanted sexual comments and advances by their male co-workers and are being groped at what the document describes as they're called cube crawls, where basically like the developers are getting like drunk and stuff and then like crawling through cube. It's just awful. But there's also been like sort of tragic consequences as well, like related to all of this. There was like one female employee died by suicide when they were on a trip, and because there was photos and all sorts of terrible things going around. There's also the significant pay gaps as well between men and women, and these terrible like promotion procedures that appear to have like favoured men over time, or not appear to, but actually have. Activision Blizzard have responded, and they've said the DFEH includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative with the DFEH through their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refused to inform us what the issues that they perceived. They were required by law to adequately investigate and to have good faith discussions with us to better understand and to resolve any claims or concerns before going to litigation, but they failed to do so. And they've also then come out and said that they've been working hard to create a healthy workplace culture with an updated code of conduct. But I've just read, Jason Schreier has just tweeted, he says that nearly 1,000 current and former Activision Blizzard employees have signed an open letter calling the company's response to the discrimination lawsuit abhorrent and insulting. And they said, you know, we will not be silenced, we will not stand aside, we will not give up. It's just awful. It's terrible.
Like, that response, it's like, oh, yeah, do you think the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing has just done this for a fucking laugh?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's so like, they're just like, oh, well, we gave them all the information they wanted, and now they're saying we've broken the law, but that can't be right. It's like, no, it's it's their job to investigate this stuff. You don't get to just say, oh, well, they've done it wrong.
Well, they did it wrong, and they didn't warn us that they were going to do this. It's just insane.
Yeah, they have absolutely no reason to warn you of what you're going to be accused of. Like, it's just, it's horrible. Like, you know, I agree with, you know, James's decision not to, like, read out a lot of this stuff. It is worth, especially if you're hearing this and thinking, oh, well, it can't have been that bad. Like, do go and read up on it.
Have a look online.
Because
there's lots of stuff.
It's absolutely disgusting. And, a lot of outlets have basically announced they are not covering Activision Blizzard stuff.
Or Ubisoft. Yeah, they've also, there was it Game Explain and also Prima Games. They said they were going to put like a hard pause, as they described it, on Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft stuff. They said they're still going to cover stories that are related to this, but they won't cover their games anymore. Yeah. Like, they're going to stop doing that until this has been resolved.
How much of this, it makes me think, how much of this is a society issue and how much of this is directly, you know, it seems to be a lot of big gaming studios that have these problems, and problems is not giving it justice. You know, it's a rather downplayed word of saying it, but this horrific stuff that's going on seems to be coming out of a lot of major gaming studios. Like, I do wonder how much of this is a society thing, and it goes across industries, and how much of it is directly coming from the culture behind developing video games. And now, you know, there'll be some people listening to this that work in development that are, of course, absolutely not like this, or working for companies that are not like this at all. So please don't think that I'm, you know, being general here. But you do wonder now, like, how much of this is being kept quiet in other industries, and how much of this is actually a problem within the industry that we all, you know, are not involved with, but all, you know, it's a part of what we do. And it's you know, there's no answer to that. It's a rhetoric. We don't know the ins and outs of all of that stuff. But I think if it is a problem with the industry, then where does that stem from? How the fuck do we get over it? I suppose the only way we can get over it is by exposing these reports coming out. And we're going through a hard time at the moment where we're hearing time after time that these things are going on in these places. And I think, you know, it is the hard time because we're listening to all this coming out, but it's also the most important time, because the more it gets exposed, the more it can be looked at directly and confronted. And as I said, with all of these things, fair play to everyone that puts their name to allegations like this, the open letters and everything, because I know that cannot be an easy thing to do.
No, it just can't. Isn't it? Must be. Like, you know, when people get sort of on the defensive, or they're like, oh, well, we've heard one side, but what, you know, we haven't heard from those who've been accused. It's like, what do you think people get out of making these accusations? Like, as if it's going to, like, boost people's careers or get them some sort of fame. Like, name, like, one person who's, like, done well out of, you know, having to make accusations like this. It's just, it absolutely does my head in.
But it's the response from these companies as well is appalling.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that statement from Activision Blizzard is awful. Yeah. I mean, I've got another story here, which is the same thing, it's not the same thing, but it's pretty similar, which is about Ubisoft Singapore, where there's been a new report that Kotaku have put together where they've spoken with 20 like former and current staff members, and they've described that this is like one of the worst Ubisoft studios in terms of like culture. And there's accusations of like sexual harassment, bullying, racial pay disputes, and this was under this guy who was the leadership of this guy. Is it Huges Rico? I'm not sure how to pronounce. He was like accused of sexual harassment like before, like in August last year, and he was being removed now as the role as like head of the studio. But now he still works for Ubisoft in Paris. Like, he's just been moved, you know, to another place, and that seems to be something which happens a lot, where they just sort of seem to just brush things off the carpet.
Like, it's like generally, it's just people having to make the accusations are usually the people who end up having to move on, and the accused usually just do absolutely fine. They either get allowed to leave quietly, or they just get moved somewhere else, or they just fucking stay put, as seems to be the case with Ubisoft in a lot of cases. And it's just, it's just absolutely disgusting. Yeah.
I mean, this, like, do you want to hear the Ubisoft statement over this?
Because
this was also, I mean, this was like racial issues with this as well, because basically it was claimed that the Singapore government gave Ubisoft a lot of money to set up this studio. And the idea was that then this would train up like local talent who would then take over the studios themselves. But then that doesn't appear to have happened because most of the leadership is still like expats that are like running the studio instead. And there's these huge pay gaps of between like $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Between people that are working on different projects or in different positions. And I mean, they said this. They just said, Ubisoft said, "We celebrate our international culture at Ubisoft and work to ensure our teams are deeply integrated into the local communities where we operate. We do not and we will not tolerate abuse, harassment, or discrimination. Ubisoft Singapore is proud of the studio that has been built over the last 13 years, with 35 nationalities and talent coming from a wide range of backgrounds. 40% of expert and senior expert roles are Singaporean or permanent residents." See, but permanent residents, that can be people, like, if you're living in the country for a certain time, you can be given permanent residency. Yeah. That doesn't make you, from there, as it were, Anyway, our objective is to continue to increase Singaporean leadership through various programs, including a dedicated management learning path to accelerate the development of new leaders. Compensation is determined by role, responsibility, market practices, and performance. But again, they're not actually engaging with any of the allegations at all that have gone on here. It's just...
That's just ultra defensive, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're gonna have to change their stance with this stuff and face what's actually being thrown their way. Because how long can they go along saying this stuff after every report comes out? It's
well, the trouble is, I think they feel like they can keep doing it until they see differences to their bottom line.
Yeah,
they feel like
Ubisoft haven't faced any legal action yet, have they? I don't think.
No, until they start losing money, then they'll make changes. But they're like, hey, as Sean said, they'll get moved on, or they'll let people go quietly, and they'll bring someone else in. Like, so much this is so dependent on, kind of shareholder expectations. We need to keep the motor running, keep doing what we're doing. So they don't want to make too many changes, even if culturally they need to. And these kind of cases, investigating says that they absolutely need to, but they're just. Clearly, these big companies are just like, they don't want to make changes and they don't want to actually own up and deal with the issues that's clearly at the heart of these organisations. I mean, it must.
So then, where does law come into this? When do these?
Well, with the Activision Blizzard one, it sounds like it is.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, the state is.
Yeah, but what we need like a massive case where like the state or whoever it is can take one of these businesses to court and then but really make a stand and then that may be something that hopefully other businesses and studios start taking notice of and start actually fixing their problems rather than sweeping under the carpet and moving things around to keep the status quo.
I've said it before, and this is not in any way going to fix everything at all. But there does need to be like some unionisation as well, because the thing is, if you do this, then there needs to be alternative power bases inside some of these massive companies, that are on paper looking after people, and looking at what people have got to say, rather than just having to rely on the sort of the patronage or whatever of the management. It's there needs to be another power base there.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like in response to like Dave was saying, is this just a wider culture thing or is it specific to games? I think it's both to some extent. It's certainly not unique to video games, but a lot of other industries have unions. So it's just
it's such a male-dominated, historically male-dominated workforce as well. Like, obviously, greater diversity as well will also hopefully start making changes or helping this in some way. But I remember it's just unbelievable.
It was a Double Fine thing ages ago. Was it part of the Kickstarter documentary? It might have been. And like they were saying that a lot of devs have initiatives to hire more women or people of color or. But those initiatives don't specify like, no, you have to put those people in charge of things. It's like, it's not about just making up a quota. it's about getting them higher up within the company, and then the effects of that then flow downwards, and you get a much healthier, diverse workspace.
The problem doesn't stop with hiring. You're then putting them into an environment where there's potentially even bigger problem.
Absolutely.
That's what needs sorting.
Yeah. I mean, and to be clear, like this isn't,
this is fucking awful, isn't it? It's just awful.
It is, and just as because I know we said this seems to be like AAA studios. Like, there's been plenty of people tweeting saying, like, just so you know, this isn't like unique to big budget game dev. Like, this goes on in indie spaces too. Obviously, we've seen high profile cases of people using their influence within like the indie community. And it's just it's fucking everywhere. It's disgusting.
Okay. Anyway, we had the Tokyo Games has started.
Who watched the opening ceremony?
I haven't seen it.
No,
I missed it.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, and that's because their games. So sorry to James, do you want to do the story before I start commenting?
Yeah, the Olympic Games. When you said Tokyo Games, like Tokyo Game Show, but you meant the Olympic Games, don't you?
That's what you said. Tokyo Olympic Games, right? Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So they basically used a whole bunch of music from video games, but it was all mostly it's like Square Enix stuff, isn't it? And like some Sega and things like that.
It was mainly when they were walking into the stadium. Each of the teams were walking into the stadium, and if I'm honest with you, the only bit of music that I actually recognised was the victory music from Final Fantasy. But other than that, it was like the Winning 11-6 Triumph theme tune. They chose a Sonic track that I'd never heard before.
Starlight Zone, have you not heard that? That's like from the first game. It's brilliant.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe I just missed that bit then. Maybe I watched the edited version. But what I will say is that, as everyone was pointing out at the time, no Nintendo. And there's... I'll tell you why this is weird. Because Nintendo was a huge part of the handing over ceremony between wherever the last one was and this one. Was it Moscow, the last one?
I have no idea.
No, it was.
I can't remember. I can't remember. But the last Olympics, during the handing over ceremony, there was Mario was front and center throughout the whole thing, and it makes you wonder. There's a story there. There's definitely a story there where there was no Nintendo.
Is it not just the COVID thing?
Yeah, this is what I wonder, because there's been a lot of like controversy like around these games as to whether they were going to go ahead and the whole thing. Maybe Nintendo
a bunch
was
of sponsors have pulled out because they didn't want to be a part of it. And
then you had terrible accusations to, what was it, the music director and the like the team involved in putting that show together. Two of them got fired for horrible things. Really bad things as well. You can look it up. So I think I think you might be right. I think Nintendo might have seen that and gone, "Oh, we ain't putting our brand to that," which is nuts for an opening ceremony of the Olympics.
There's been surveys recently where like most people in Japan like don't want the games to go ahead. I think it's like 60 to 70% of people said that they didn't want the games to go ahead at all. And obviously, they've had to do it now with no attending it, no kind of people watching the games. So with that combined with the controversy and all the COVID stuff, it's weird. And also, like in far less serious terms, the BBC haven't got most of the rights this time. Like Discovery have got most of the rights.
Really? So
apparently, there's just a lot less Olympics coverage that there is normally even on the BBC. So that's a shame.
I mean, I'm just looking at the full list of songs. It's pretty incredible. Like, because you sort of flick through it, and there's some deep, what we would consider deep cuts in there. You've got stuff from Ace Combat, stuff from like the Tales of series, and then
Chrono Trigger,
Chrono Trigger, like Gradius. But then Phantasy Star Universe. No one liked that game. No one who likes Phantasy Star even likes that game. That's why is that in there? It's just bizarre. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some pretty cool stuff at the opening ceremony. It's worth watching. The drone stuff they did with the lights was utterly incredible.
Oh yeah.
So you'll like that, Sean.
I do like my drones. Is it where they have like a shitload of them all lit up and they sort of make shapes in the air and stuff?
Yeah, they made this big sphere and they were changing it. Go on.
That's just reminded me of some feedback actually, Sean. I had for you for because you were talking about Yakuza 0. Yeah. About Judgment.
Yeah.
Like. And how that's got drone stuff in
racing,
it. Yeah, don't play it for that. It's awful.
Oh, really? Is it bad?
I hated it.
Oh,
it's like borderline uncontrollable. I found I really didn't enjoy
I'm a pretty experienced drone operator, James, so I don't imagine I'll have any problems. But thanks.
Yeah, probably still be fine, probably. But yeah, hated it. Anyway, next story is that EA Play happened last week as well.
Did it? It's
well,
so weird.
Did anyone watch this? Because I didn't bother.
I skimmed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should look at that and regret that it wasn't the opening to E3, to be honest with you. Because I didn't hear any buzz from it whatsoever. And, you know, when it's at the start of E3, these things, the EA Play things are never really good. They're just never really good, are they? We've never come out of one go, and that was fucking great.
About? We had Jose Mourinho and Men in Blazers and all that before.
Yeah, it's true. But I'm talking for the right reasons. You know, you never come out of them going, they showed some great stuff, blah, blah, blah. But this time it really was, it just, they put it out there and it was a bit like nothing. And at least when it's at the start of E3, you're like, oh, okay, well, at least it's just the start of E3. We got all this stuff to come. Like this, because it was on its own, people were coming away going, okay. Okay, yeah, I've done something then.
Do you want to know this is the list? So we had Grid Legends, which is coming from Codemasters, because they are now part of EA, aren't they? Because they released F1 recently.
So is that a new Grid game then, or what?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's got a story mode, apparently.
Wasn't there FMV as well involved?
Oh, I don't know.
I heard that there was FMV.
Your section,
and it was awful. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'd like to know because it's a news section.
Yeah. I didn't watch it, Matt. I've already explained. I've got a list though of things.
I'm looking at a trailer now. There is live action. I don't know if it's just for the trailer, but there is definitely live action in the trailer.
I think it was just for the trailer.
Probably.
But, you know,
it's got a story.
No, it says here, the hook here is shall I do your job for you, James?
Yeah, of course. Just do it, Matt. I know you love reading out press releases, so go on.
Well, I like actually conveying the news. What have you conveyed
like
so far? It's a Grid Legends game. I said, what game is it? You don't know. Is it live action? Don't know. Who's in it? Don't know.
I know you like reading out your corporate propaganda. Go on, read the thing.
Okay, well, here's some corporate propaganda. It's got the person who played Eric Ifong in Sex Education.
Oh, there you go.
And it's got a live action story mode.
Oh, it does have a live action story mode. That's weird.
Does, yeah.
Got there in the end,
has that ever been successful? Other than Night Trap or whatever it's called. Has that ever been?
Well, I've got a little game called Dark Nights with Poe and Monro to talk about later.
We'll look forward to that. We will look forward to that.
Then we got a date for Lost in Random, which is coming on the 10th of September.
Oh, this is the indie one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks alright.
Yeah, it looked fine.
And then we got more stuff for Knockout City, because they're doing Season 2 with what is called, it's a map of ever-changing movie-inspired arenas called the Hollywood Drive-In.
It looked really good.
Playlists, gear and rewards.
The stuff looked really good. I might have to pop back on that again. It's been a while, and I loved what I played of it. So, and it's, you know, it's... Sorry?
Yeah, by the time you hear this, it's out, because it's out on the 27th. So, yeah.
Cool.
Holy shit. I'll say this. It's a good sign that they're showing stuff from Knockout City, because remember Rocket Arena? They showed that off once and then never spoke about it again.
Yeah, that's gone.
So it's a good sign that it's doing pretty well and it's getting supported. So fingers crossed that'll just get better and better.
Then we had Apex Legends Emergence. So this is like a new update for that, and that's coming on the 3rd of August.
It's a game that I'd forgotten existed.
Yeah,
it's bad, isn't it?
It's still big though. It's still big.
Yeah, people love it,
it's still big. People love it. Yeah, but it's just
I always say,
I'm like,
if I was ever going to play one of those, that is the one I would play. But I just fundamentally don't get on with them. But I'm very happy that they've got a hit after making 2 brilliant games that no one bought.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, go back and make one of those games that no one buys, please. Just one more. For me. I just want one more.
I'll pay full price for it. I promise.
Don't take the piss though. Not £70 full price. Yeah. All right. We know what you're thinking, EA.
Then they also unveiled Battlefield Portal, which is like it lets you sort of mash up parts of Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3 in like custom maps.
This sounded
this looks cool as fuck. Did any of you guys watch the trailer?
No, I saw. I saw. Oh god, I saw the jokes on Twitter of people showing the portal gun in Battlefield and was like, what? So went and watched the trailer and saw Battlefield Portal, and I was like, holy shit, where's the portal gun stuff? Oh no, right, okay, I see what they've done here. I was well disappointed, but no, I didn't really get to see the full thing. So what can you do, Matt?
Well, I mean, the trailer was just CG, but as James mentioned, yeah, the fact you can have like one of World War II planes in a Battlefield 3 map, and Bad Company 2 weapons and vehicles in a 1942 map. It's basically like a giant old mashup, and it'd be interesting to know which. I think I have already mentioned actually which of the Battlefield 3 maps are out or included. But the fact that you can kind of mix and match is it's literally cool. I'm still super excited about
our favourites on there.
What's that? Let me just check. Battlefield 3's Caspian Border and North Shire Canals are on there.
Oh, really? They haven't got... What is it? Metro was the one we loved, wasn't it?
Yeah, Metro's the one we loved. I mean, not yet. I'm sure he said they're going to add more, but it just looks like a really cool idea, the fact you can, mix and match all these cool things.
I guess.
And yeah, I'm still really supremely excited for 2042. It looks great in the trailers, and I just hope they nail it. What I hope more than anything is that they don't have ridiculous issues with servers on day one, because that feels like it's plagued the last 2 or 3 Battlefield games.
Yeah, for you, that only plays it in the first week. But honestly, like the Battlefield games were great after that. It seriously,
not after the first week, longer than that.
I don't know. I think it was about a week.
Probably about a month or 2. Okay. Anyway, I'm excited, and this is a cool idea.
Cool.
I'm very excited. Okay. Like, I've just seen people tweeting basically saying there's nothing to stop you essentially just recreating like Bad Company 2, which remains my favourite Battlefield. So yeah, excited.
Okay, and then the last thing they showed was a Dead Space remake that everyone knew was going to happen, and it's by EA Motive.
Oh, is it a remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that. First one, I thought it was a new one. Okay. All right. I never liked the Dead. Well, I never played the Dead Space.
I was going to say, given by the amount of excitement I've seen around this, you'd be forgiven for thinking it was a new one. I was really surprised how positive people have been about this. Like, it'll be good.
The first one was good.
Yeah,
the first one was a good game.
Like,
it was a good game. The first one.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's just weird that obviously they binned the developer. And it's like a series that everyone sort of agrees like started off amazing, then sort of went off the boil. A bit with 2 and then definitely with 3. And then they're like, yeah, we're bringing it back with a remake of the one good one after we sacked the devs and it's being made by a different team. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, it seems weird. Like if, the big
this makes the most sense.
Like the whole Skate 4 thing, if they just sort of gone, oh yeah, we're remaking Skate 1, I'd be like, oh, okay. so I don't know, I've just been surprised by how positive people have been by this.
No, because I think with this, obviously it's been a while since Dead Space, but I think with this it makes much more sense to do this because they can do the Resident Evil thing or indeed the Tony Hawk's thing where like, okay, let's remake the first one, make it great, get old fans in and new fans in, and then they can either go and say, well, do we remake number 2? Do we change it, or do we have a totally original one? I think this makes total sense.
Yeah,
I'm really
like they did with the Tony Hawk's
how this
thing.
one goes.
What happened to that? Didn't they just get rid of the whole studio and then?
Well, no. As in, they remade the first 2, loved it, and people were like, okay, well, do you make a new Tony Hawk's? Do you make a remake of 3? Obviously, since then they kind of moved the studio on. But
so the answer was no, don't make any more.
If they do a remake of 3, maybe by the time it comes out, they'll be thinking maybe we can have another crack at these microtransaction things.
That's true, yeah.
Because that was the problem with it. It was like insane.
What was the reaction to the second one, James?
Good. Yeah, people like the second one. It was. I mean,
was it good, just not as good?
Yeah, it was
the first one.
It was good, not as good as the first one, but still very good. Like it was still those first two games were great.
The second Dead Space.
Dead Space.
Yeah.
Dead Space. Yeah.
Which was the one that John Denton reviewed? Well, that was Dead Space 3, wasn't it? Where
which was one of them, which is awful. Yeah,
shots fired. I watched that video again the other day. It's so good. I mean, not for John. It must be awful for him. But go on, sorry,
John. I should bring that up.
Probably loved it at the time. James, how scariness-wise, how do these compare to the Resident Evil games?
Much scarier. Yeah, I'd say they're much scarier than Resident Evil. Like Resident Evil's not really very scary. These are much like the atmosphere in these is horrible. It's like really sinister and like grim, but very good.
What's the general gameplay? Is it combat? Is it puzzles? Is it everything? Is it kind of just is it more survival horror than even Resident Evil is?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a bit more survival, but the combat is good because it's all like customizable weapons and stuff. Like you have to choose which ones you're going to upgrade like over time and all that kind of stuff. But it is also sort of environmental puzzle based, I'd say. It's
roll up, get your tickets for the Matt Murray stream train. Come on, man.
100%.
Get that on there, mate.
Yeah, having not played the originals and people getting excited about this, but it's interesting. But I think, as I normally think with these things, and particularly in terms of Skate, where there's like so many people getting excited for weeks and months and years about a new game or remake, and they bring it out and then it just kind of comes out and do you remember when they did Mirror's Edge 2 that everyone wanted for ages and it came out and nothing happened? And I think potentially that might have an escape. But this, it feels like much more kind of, there's much greater chance of actually doing well and moving on to different things.
I mean, I think it's also...
Sean. You can take that, Sean. That was like a direct torpedo into your favourite game.
I mean, we'll see what happens, won't we?
We did get an update on Skate, didn't we? Just before, because they said Skate was not going to be out this. Neither was BioWare, neither was Mass Effect, neither was Star Wars.
All the things you're looking forward to.
They said loads of things weren't going to be here, but they did have like a kind of behind the scenes motion capture video about Skate, didn't they?
Oh, yeah,
man, it's still happening.
I'm just thinking about Matt streaming this. That would be good. Then I remembered that the Mass Effect trilogy come out, and Matt, you should be streaming that. Come on, Matt. Come on. Let's go. Come on.
Do you know what I might dig out for you, Matt, just to give you a taste? So back in the Dark Zero days, I did a bit. I did a bit for the. So this was like pre-streaming, obviously. There's a bit of a Dark Zero episode, which is just the audio of me trying to play like the first hour of Dead Space, which I then sort of truncated down. And yeah, it's just loads of horrible noises and me screaming and swearing for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, please put that up.
We
will listen to that.
As a bonus podcast.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that was EA Play 2021.
That was, yeah.
A bit of a letdown. Also, would like to have seen some Mass Effect, but there you go.
The Dead Space remake is also only next gen. Like, it's not coming out on PS4 and PS5, Xbox One or anything. It's only next gen, and there's no release window yet either. So, yeah, it may be a while.
It's going to be a regular week.
Yep. Final news is that PES is no more. It's now a free-to-play game called eFootball.
Weird decision this whole thing is. So yeah,
slowly happening over the last like 2 or 3 years, isn't it?
But why? People know that brand.
Yeah, but no one's been buying that brand for as much as they were, which has been the problem here.
If they bring out a proper football game, people know Pro Evolution Soccer. You know, maybe that's it. Maybe they looked at it and said, Pro Evolution Soccer has got such a bad stink around it now as a brand that we need to change it, and that's really sad.
Yeah, I think that's what I said in the press release. We've renamed this because such a bad stink.
But maybe that is.
So here's a much cooler one.
We're going to light a scented candle.
And call it eFootball. Helping themselves,
but then it's hard not to imagine that, like, you know, the number of conversations. Oh, eFootball, what's this? Oh, it's PES. Oh, right, okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
don't think people are going to be fooled.
Filter away. Yeah, that'll filter away, won't it?
It's very easy to say, like, why have they changed the name of, you know, ISS Pro or ISS and then into Pro Evo? I mean, even at a time like, why is it Pro Evo? Like, it's ISS. But having said that, if you forget all the naming stuff, watching the trailer, looking at the stuff they've done, and all the stuff for free to play to various platforms, it does look like it could be really exciting. I hope they nail it, because there's lots of potential for, I mean, like a free-to-play football game on mobile and PC and consoles, current and previous gen, cross-platform, like play,
but there's
and free-to-play. There's lots of exciting potential there.
Yeah, but the problem was...
There's one big problem. There's a huge problem with this. Yeah.
The game modes.
Well, there's the problem here, right, is that you've got that problem, which is that they said that when it launches, it's going to have very little content, like to begin with, and then what's going to happen is they've got an initial roadmap of content and feature updates, including online leagues, team building mode, esports tournaments, and mobile controller support. But that's going to come before the end of winter, they've said. So it's not launching with like online leagues or anything like that, or the other stuff. And it says the publisher will continue to expand the game with new matches and modes over time, with plans to also sell optional DLC in the future. See, this sounds to me like this is going to launch very bare bones, where it will literally just be like one-on-one like matches or whatever, and that will be it. and then over time they'll start to add other things. There'll be a career mode, but that'll be like optional DLC that you'll have to buy. That you'll plug on later.
Yeah, you'd have to buy the Master League.
And it all depends on how it launches with the network, like how the network mode is like. If it's... Because this has been the problem for PES, hasn't it? Is that like online play has been not very good. I mean, FIFA online play isn't amazing, but it generally kind of works.
It works, yeah.
I know this sounds dumb, and it definitely doesn't work, right? This definitely doesn't work, and I know it, right? But to me, personally, the idea of a football game that didn't even bother going for licenses and anything, right? Genuinely didn't even try and make them look like Manchester United with players with slightly different names. I think the players are all called what they're called now, and it's not too bad. But if they just focus down on a fictional or like treated it, I don't want to say this because you still want the stadiums and the crowds and all that, but like if they treated it like a Sunday League thing and that you were buying and selling players that are just complete unknowns, and then the rumblings on the internet about, have you heard about this player? They're really good. You need to do, and like
you heard about John Smith?
Yeah, exactly, something like that. Like that sounds well exciting to me. Whereas playing a game where it's like it's got a couple of the teams, the rest are not.
It's got Manchester United, Barcelona, Juventus, and Bayern, and it's like you're right. It makes it worse. Like just having a couple of teams, and then all the rest are not, and then it's just like this is just odd.
It kind of feels to me like if you
it feels
create
half finished.
Like make your own. You could, right. Think of all the money you could save on licensing, and focus it on refining all the game modes, getting it all there, getting it all together. I know that's not how it works, but shut up for a minute, and like actually just making this whole fake league with fake superstars and all this that you can do stuff with it's way more exciting to me, that idea. But I guess people like licenses, and they that's what draws people's eyes to your video game, so that's probably not possible. But the idea of it just sounds really exciting to me, that you could build this whole soap opera of football and actually manipulate it more than you could ever do with licensed teams and players and stuff.
The fact this is free to play, I mean, you know how I feel about free to play, but this worries me more about this because it just makes me feel whatever they're going to put out is going to be really bare bones and not great.
We'll see.
Yeah, I hear it's going to launch with it's just you kicking a football against the wall.
Yeah.
That's the only mode.
6 months' time, you can play one-on-one with a mate.
You can wait 7 years for the pitch. Or you can buy it now.
In 6 months, you'll be able to play on like a field, and you get to put your jumpers down as goalposts, and then you get like a fifth player who's the older kid from school. It's not really fair now. It's 2-on-1.
Well, I'd love it if it was like, you have to buy like a crate of footballs or whatever like that.
Every time you kick one off the pitch,
kick it out of the stadium, you need to buy a new one.
Yeah.
That's microtransactions. That's what they're going to do. And I think it's really interesting, and I think it looked good from the trailer, but and they need to do something because they couldn't keep kind of trying to go against FIFA and failing. They need to do something different. I'm fascinated to see what it's like when it launches. Right. And
what a shit name though, eFootball.
eFootball.
Well, you know what they've chosen that? Because apparently the reason they've chosen that as a name is they said that soccer doesn't have, like, people in the UK or whatever in Europe don't know what soccer is, so they went with football.
I mean,
instead.
they do. They just don't like
it. We know what soccer is, but we're just furious with the fact that someone else come along and said, we're not calling it that. Well, why not? Because we've got football. Yeah, but you invented yours. Like, what? No, you can't just do that.
It's also the esports thing as well, isn't it? Like, they're clearly probably hoping this is going to become like an esports thing.
The quote in the press release was great, where it said, we're offering a true and fair football experience, which is basically look, we all know what happens on FIFA. There's a phrase,
you're not going to get fiefed.
We're getting fiefed is quite common, and they're aware of that. We're not being e-footed.
What we want this to be amazing, because we need something to do against FIFA. I miss the old days where it's kind of PES versus FIFA. They were pushing each other. Like, FIFA having no one to compete against is just not good for any of us. So hopefully this is amazing, and it ruffles some feathers, and it does some interesting stuff that might push FIFA in a new direction.
It's not going to be, though, is it? I reckon it's going to be awful. But anyway.
Not with that attitude, James. Let's just hope and pray, right?
Yeah.
Right, is that it for the news?
It is. I've got some rumours, though.
Oh, my goodness. Are we going?
Oh, let's go!
Are we taking the trip?
Please. Let's go to Farley's Fantasy Zone.
Okay.
Still the best jingle in the world. I don't think that'll ever get old. Go on.
Still want a 2-minute remix, James.
Could you imagine if they played that in nightclubs? That would be so good if they just dropped that in. Oh my god. Do any of us... Oh my god, maybe.
Well, no, we could, right, James, first of all, we need to make a 5-minute house remix.
No. Right, here's something we could legitimately do. If we put that up as an MP3 somewhere that people can download, what if we do a thing where we get listeners to play it in various different places, record them playing it and sending it in? Seriously, on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, we
need James to record the stems, like the individual musical bits, and then people can make their own mix. And stuff.
If you could get it, no, they don't need to make a mix.
What's that got to do with it?
They've just got to play the jingle. They've just got to play the jingle.
I don't want people
if they're able to get it onto the radio, if they're able to get it, like if they, can get it played in a nightclub somehow, anything like that.
Wedding, funeral, whatever,
yes, absolutely, all of this stuff, right? If you've got your own podcast, just slip it in there completely unannounced. Mm-hmm. Like, seriously, let's get the Farley's Fantasy Zone jingle as far and as wide as we possibly can. And even better if it's completely unexplained. Like, we don't want you to go, oh, we're going to play this because this podcast. Just whack it out there. Ring up radio stations, and once you get on, play it down the phone. Come on, we could do this.
We work in a shop, get it on the tannoy,
Yes. You imagine walking around Asda and all of a sudden the Farley's Fantasy Zone jingle plays over the thing. Oh, I'm excited. Can we do that, Matt? Can we put it up somewhere so people can download it?
I think we can.
Right, let's get that done. Let's get that done. And we want your tweets. Send them in. Let's get that jingle out there. Right, okay, cool. Sorry, James.
Okay, David, this is addressed to you because I know you were a fan of this.
Go on.
Would you like to do the Running Man again?
I beg your pardon?
Would you like to do the Running Man again?
I know what it's about.
No! Is PlayStation Home coming back, James?
Okay, so this is the rumour. The rumour is that... Sony have been updating their trademark for PlayStation Home. And they've done it 3 times, and the most recent time was the 21st of July.
That's as good as it gets. It's definitely happening then, right?
People are speculating that this could be something to do with PSVR 2. That maybe they're going to do, PlayStation Home in VR.
Of course it did. I mean, what a great idea.
They would be stupid not to be working on like a metaverse thing with that.
For sure. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yes, I want to do the Running Man in PlayStation. I'm not going to buy the fucking thing. Don't be stupid, but I like the idea. Having PlayStation Home in VR, that's like the perfect... Of course it is. Shit. I didn't even think of that.
It's amazing though, isn't it? I mean, PlayStation VR... I mean, I remember... I played PlayStation Home over at your house, I think, one time. And it was just spent most of the time going around just like, I have no keyboard. I
have no keyboard, and then running up to people and doing the Running Man and trying to get everyone to do like a massive string of the Running Man in a row and all that. Yeah.
Great stuff.
It was terrible, but funny terrible, you know what I mean?
I will say, companies renewing trademarks often just means they want to protect it. But I think you're totally right, Dave, and James. I think, with the metaverse, blowing up and doing good things with VR, I feel like it makes perfect sense for Home to be their version of the metaverse. It could be interesting.
I thought we'd open the wrong door to Matt's piss on your chip zone. And that's not quite as fun. I like it in Farley's Fantasy.
Wait for the piss on your chips jingle. That's coming.
No, it makes a lot of sense because, as you said, Matt, it's like with all the stuff that Sony owns, they could actually bring something together here where you could have watch films in it or whatever, that are off like Sony networks or whatever. It could be really interesting. I mean, no one will use it, but it could be interesting.
Yeah, I'm down for this, definitely.
Who knows? Who knows where we'll be when PSVR's out in, a couple of years. It'll be, who knows where we'll be.
Mm. Okay, my second rumour is not quite as exciting, but it's about Jade Raymond.
All right.
And it's about, because it's Haven Games is a studio, and there's now rumours that, you know how she's like tied to Sony now, and the studio is working on a game for Sony, and apparently it's a games as a service game, and that's the rumour. I'm sure it's very exciting, but yeah,
should have just kept it with the one story, I think.
Yeah, not much of it.
It was scraping the barrel.
Yeah, is there like a sort of time limit in Farley's Fantasy Zone before you got to get the fuck out of there?
I think maybe one story is enough, to be honest. You know, it's just got to be a banger and that's it, and then we just walk out.
Really
the thing is, like, these days, what is the definition of games as a service? So many games these days are moving to that where, you know, it's about regular content, it's about paying for these kind of DLCs every year. Like, I think the term games as a service is going to start not making sense at all when you have lots of games. I mean, I guess like games like Forza Horizon is arguably that, where it's like the seasons and
then you look at I think an odd example is Rainbow Six Siege. Still playing, you know, people still playing it. The content's still being released for it. Does that count as a games as a service? It didn't when it come out.
But I would say it definitely does, yeah, with like season passes, with regular kind of a live team managing it, new content. I mean, that is what I've always defined as a games as a service, but so many games these days are that, because that's what people expect. And ultimately, that's what studios and developers, publishers want. They want people to play their same game and kind of eke out money every year. So, yeah, I don't know, I went on that rant, but I'm just saying every game's a games as a service these days. I don't know what it was, actually. I just kept talking. I know this isn't news, but Playdate announced pre-orders are coming next week, aren't they? Yeah. This week, this Thursday, 6 p.m. UK time.
Shit. How do you feel, James?
I couldn't care less about it.
No, I mean, how do you feel about the fact that Matt has just slipped in a bit of news there?
I mean, he mentioned it on the WhatsApp group, and I'm like, I'm not putting that in because I just don't care. And,
it also
and then I thought
sounded more like an advert than a piece of news.
That's precisely why I didn't put it in there, because I just thought,
James, genuinely, James, are you not interested in it? I thought that'd be well up your street.
No, it just doesn't.
James,
really
he's trying to keep you going. Just shut him down.
Yeah, for me, Playdate's just kind of out. The price sort of puts me off. What is it for the actual console?
180 quid.
180.
Yeah,
and they do
including import and all that sort of stuff.
They do take the money when you pre-order it as well.
Yeah, okay, right, okay.
Which is a lot of money to lay out for something you might not get for 3-4 months. But no.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well,
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, we should probably put #ad in this podcast, Matt, just on the socials. Right. Should we get to what you've been playing?
Let's.
We should probably say, Matt, nothing, right?
No, I've been far too busy. I mean, I played a little tiny bit of Zelda because Elodie and I were enjoying it every day, but then work got too busy, so I stopped playing it. But we played a bit on the weekend, and we're in our first temple now, or dungeon. I mean, I would always say dungeon. I think there was like something on Twitter about, or a poll saying, what do you call them?
It was a dungeon, wasn't it?
In my mind, I always call them dungeons, but they're called obviously temples in the game. But
yeah, definitely dungeons.
Anyway. Yeah. We got to our first dungeon, playing that, still fine with the controls, but she's still enjoying watching it and playing it, and when I get more time, we're going to keep playing it. So that's pretty much all I had time to do, because the other game I'm playing is Zombieland VR Headshot Fever, which actually
don't worry about that game. No,
gearing up to the big launch on Steam. So this Thursday at 6 p.m. Sorry, that's pretty much all I'm playing.
Sean, can we finally talk about Death's Door? Because I've wanted to talk to you about it all week, and obviously we've held back a bit, haven't we? Because of the show. So Sean and I have been playing a game called Death's Door, which is a Devolver Digital published game, and it is available on Xbox and PC. No PS4 version, which I thought was weird. No PlayStation version.
Can't handle it.
Yeah, strange one.
Too good.
And it is a sort of isometric. Really, the shorthand. It's so different to Zelda games, like old school Zelda games, that you can't really directly compare them. But at the same time, it's the easiest shorthand to say it's a Zelda style game, because it is an action adventure isometric game filled with puzzles and technically dungeons and enemies to fight. But I think the fact that the exploration is done in a completely different way, the way that the combat is, and the punishment for dying and all that sort of stuff is totally different. and it is better than pretty much every top-down Zelda game that I've ever played as well. So, yeah, you can't really directly compare them, but
no. And because like initially, seeing this in trailers and stuff, got a very big like Soulsborne vibe off it.
Yeah,
and that is there certainly. In terms of the tone and the presentation of it and stuff.
I wouldn't say the tone because the tone is way like there's a lot of comedy in there.
True, yeah,
and
quite a lot of humor in it.
There's none of that in Dark Souls games, obviously.
No.
But what I will say, the similarities are literally it's one of those ones where it's a big spiraling map that you can go around, do stuff for ages, and then find your way back to your sort of spawn point. The punishment for dying.
It's not also hard. I saw some people saying,
no.
Difficult.
In terms of difficulty level, you can't compare them.
Yeah,
like, this always seems very achievable.
I didn't mean as hard, but I also saw some people say, I'm tearing my hair out playing this, or this is hard, or
unless it gets way harder later,
a little bit like that?
Sean.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I've just found it tricky, like more than anything else. So, okay, right. So, how far into it are you, Sean?
Can I ask a question first?
Okay, go on.
Yes.
This is just a quick question, right? Yeah. This looks right up my street of something that I really would
like.
It's
a James Farley game, you'd love it.
Yeah.
But does it have any like modern things of like roguelike stuff or crafting or deck?
No. Look, just let's talk about the game. You trust me, we'll convince you to play this immediately by the end of this. Trust me.
Okay, go ahead.
And the other thing to point out as well is that although there's the mechanic of dying is that there's a door that you walk out of and you go back to that door every time. It's not one of those situations where you have to go back to where you died to collect everything you collected. That stays with you. So if you are really struggling, chances are you'll be able to afford an upgrade to help you along the way, But anyway, right, okay, so how far into it are you, Sean?
So I've done the witch, and I'm now in the forest bit. Okay,
I'm further than you now. That's bad.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because I am just about to face off with the boss of that area.
Okay, cool.
I'm at that point where Harry was watching me play it for 10, 20 minutes tonight, and he was like, do not face that boss until I'm here, because he had to go to bed. I was like, all right, I'll do that in the morning. But it's one of those games, and it's a rarity, this sort of thing. This didn't even happen with a game like Hades, which went on to be our game of the year last year. It's one of those games where you start playing it and instantly you go, this is a class above. This is, it's visually beautiful. The audio is fantastic. The setup is wonderful. It's completely intriguing, like really gripping from the first second. And just the environments you're in sort of makes you sit up and take notice. You're like, okay, all right, I'm digging this. And the more you play it, the more you're like, I don't like this about it, I don't like that about it. But the more you get into it, you're like, oh, that's why it's doing that, and that's why it's doing that. Okay, that totally makes sense. And now I'm at a point now where I'm thinking, I can't think of a fault here. There's nothing I dislike about this game, and I'm totally gripped, and I'm loving every minute of it. It's pretty special, isn't it?
It really is. Like, we haven't properly explained everything. You play as like a little, is it a crow or a blackbird?
A crow, yeah.
Is it a crow? Who can wield a sword for reasons we don't need to get into. And basically you're essentially, traipsing around this sort of between sort of afterlife-y space. And it's a bit Dark Souls in terms of like basically, there's 3 big bosses you got to take down. And that's going to open a door, you hope. But even that's doing it a disservice, because that's all then wrapped up in this whole thing that like actually it's your job to like reap souls. But that kind of
you work for a company, don't you, where you reap souls?
Yeah, but that kind of goes out the window early on, but in a really interesting way that I won't spoil. And you're still sort of going back to that office and sort of finding things out, and that's sort of fleshing out the, obviously you're exploring this world at the same time, but then it's these trips back to the office and sort of, finding new areas there or unlocking new areas and different bits of lore and stuff that, just allow you to start piecing things together. And it's like Dave says, there's just this sort of sophistication to everything about it that's it's just a cut above, like, I'm not going to say everything, but it's I don't know, it's really hard to explain. And like the combat is just spot on.
Again, this is one of the things I went into it and thought, actually the combat feels kind of sluggish. You don't feel like you can whip about the place and put together loads of combos. Like, for example, if you compare it to Hades, which the combat is just so lightning fast. Yeah. You're chaining moves together. Everything's going off on one. It's great. But it sort of has this weird sort of area. It sits in this area between something like Hades and also something way more considered, like Dark Souls. Yeah. So it's not as technical as, say, Dark Souls. It's not as slow and pick your moments as that game, but then it's nowhere near as fast or action based as Hades. But it kind of nails. Sorry, go on.
So I mean, you've compared this to like Zelda and stuff as well, but so do you pick up like items and stuff and then use them as weapons and things, or is it?
So the well, this is what's interesting, Sean. I don't know if you noticed this, but in the menu, there's this huge grid of possible weapons that you've got. Yeah. Yet I'm way into the game and I've still only got one.
Oh, really? I found two.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's one right at the start. And that's kind
if
of
you turned around, Dave, you could have got a machine
well, the one you find right at the start is kind of a joke. Well, it's not. It's an umbrella, and it's the same as your sword, but it does less damage. So basically, that's your hard mode. Apparently, that's the idea. Okay. But yeah, so I've found another one, which I am now. I think I'm going to use as my main.
Is it an axe weapon?
No.
Okay, all right. Because I've seen an axe, but I have no idea how to get it. So,
okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's been really frustrating. So the Zelda comparisons, James, are literally that you are discovering areas, and there are tons of secret paths and different things you can do. You can be walking towards. If you're walking straight to where you're supposed to be going, you will pass so many different forks in the road that you should probably go down. It's full of exploration, and it's always rewarding when it does that. You'll either find, as Sean says, a weapon or some orbs to help you level up, or various different items like seeds that you can plant to get your health back and stuff.
Those are so clever. Those are so brilliantly done. There's like, just basically, the way you like replenishing your health works is that in the world there are these little pots with soil in them. And if you've got a spare seed, you can plant them, and then instantly it grows into this tree that you sort of eat the fruit off it, and it restores your health. So you can only use it like once. If you die, that sort of replenishes the tree, and you can use it once again. So it's just this cool thing of like, if you're absolutely storming through a section, you can choose to save your seeds if you want, like, because you only got a limited number of them. But if you're struggling, like, you make sure you plant a seed in every single one. But equally, like, if you are if you sort of acknowledge you're not as good at the combat, then fine, you spend a little bit more time exploring. And if you're more into finding the secrets and figuring stuff out, you're going to find more seeds, and that's going to give you more chances to use the pots and more chances to replenish your health. So it just sort of balances out quite nicely, I thought.
Yeah, although I will say that I've got like 13 seeds on me. I've got way too many seeds, I think, at this point in the game.
You mentioned like the exploration, but is it like at all overwhelming that? Like, in the sense of like, where do I go, all that kind of thing, or is it?
I've never been lost. It always seems to guide you in the right direction, doesn't it? I don't know how it's doing that.
I've seen people saying that they've managed to get lost, but that's in like the sort of the dungeon bits rather than the open, the more sort of open world sections.
Really?
Yeah. So the I forget the proper name for it, the witch's house.
So it was like
I found it okay, but
something, wasn't it? Yeah, because it does some interesting things. So, like, when you come to... there's always... You have to go through this huge door. Like, in the two areas that I've done, there's a huge door, and there's 4 spirits somewhere hidden within that level. And you need to go and do stuff, and then you find the spirit, and the spirit flies back to the door, and once you get all 4 of them at the door opens up, and it pushes you towards the boss fight, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to get dropped in front of the boss to fight it, but it pushes you to the area that you need to go in. Maybe I think you get a power up or something that lets you open up areas that you weren't able to before, and eventually that leads to where you need to go. But it does this really interesting thing where it shows the 4 orbs and on the top of the door, and it will show 2 to the left, 2 to the right. So if you've only got 1 left and it's on the right hand side of the door, you sort of naturally go, okay, well it must be to the east then, because that's where the light's missing. So you go to the east and it's always there. That seems to be how it works and pushes you to the right places. So at no point have I sat there and got completely lost within the world. I think early on, when you didn't understand the system of the doors opening up in the sort of in whatever you call it, purgatory or whatever. Yeah. I didn't really understand the system of that, and I wasn't mentally noting the areas' names. So like, there's no map, so that makes things a little bit more difficult in that regard. But once you pick up the cues that you're supposed to pick up on, then you can find your way around the game completely. Because all those doors in purgatory are specifically placed to represent where they are in the sort of overworld.
That's right. It's all sort of analogous, isn't it? It's really nicely done. I think the other thing. The other thing it does to sort of prevent you getting lost, and this is also something that sort of mitigates the difficulty a bit as well, is that particularly in the dungeons, you're essentially going off on like different branches, but then you're always being brought back to like the main area where you started, which is smart because it means you sort of like, right, you'll do one sort of branch and then you can be like, right, seal that off. I got the thing I needed from doing that branch. I'm not going to go back there. But also it means you're always like opening shortcuts back to the starting bit. So if you do die, there's usually a quick way to get back to where you were. And they seem to have gone out of their way to make sure that applies to the harder bits. Like every time I have died in like a particularly difficult fight, it's been a very easy and quick route back to.
Have you got all the souls in that forest area yet?
In all the souls, as in all the orbs that are died around.
Literally the souls, the people that die that fly back.
Oh, sorry, yeah. You have to, don't you, to get through it?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, that one area where it's sort of like a figure of 8. There's 2 bridges that go over a lake, and there's respawning enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that bit really done me. Like, I struggled with that. I think it took me about 7 or 8 attempts. But as you say, it was amazing the way the world works and the shortcuts you open. You literally die, come out the door, run through. You don't have to fight anyone, and you're there within like 10, 15 seconds. You're back to where you were. So they thought about that a lot, and it works really well. All the usual praise that we put on a lot of indie games is still here. Visually stunning. The character designs are absolutely flawless. Everything looks great. The music is just beyond. So good. Like it's so good. And it's frustrating that we praise so many games on its soundtrack. I think obviously work on soundtrack has gone through the roof in the past, say, 5 years. Soundtracks are getting better in sort of all games at all levels. But here it's just so. I've had that main theme tune like buzzing around in my head in such a nice way.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, it's like it's got, obviously generally, games and films, like the work of a soundtrack is it can't, depending on the sort of thing it's trying to score, but it's, especially if it's an interactive bit of a game, the music can't be too, like, it can't stick out too much in a lot of cases, right? Usually it's there as, bedding of some sort. And this really neatly treads a line between having like hooks and like bits you will whistle or remember, but also just kind of sitting there and providing a backdrop and the tone.
Yeah,
for different areas.
Perfect as well. Yeah, for sure.
Really beautifully done.
And the writing is great. There's some great jokes in there, and some funny surprises here and there. I was really surprised with some of the gags it was coming out with. Oh God, there was one. I won't spoil it, but I'll have to talk to you about it later because you've definitely seen it. It really made me laugh. Yeah,
there's loads of them that are like not even necessarily laugh out loud funny, but they're just very fucking clever.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the boss design as well. It's just really well done. Because this is by Acid Nerve, who did Titan Souls.
Right.
Which I didn't finish, but I really enjoyed what I played of it at the time. And I remember was it EGX ages ago? They gave a talk where they were saying like the whole point is the fights are like, so if you didn't play Titan Souls, that was a game where you were just like a guy with a bow and arrow, and I think you only had one arrow as well. But it was just a series of boss fights, and really tough ones. But all the bosses were designed in such a way that, like the devs were saying, that basically if you're not trying to attack, if you're just trying to evade and observe and learn, it's actually quite easy to stay alive. It's once you go on the offensive that you start taking risks and you start getting hurt. And I think that, is the same here. All the bosses, like, although, some of them are quite tough, as long as you're patient and you just, like, they've all got patterns that you can learn. And, ultimately, when you do a boss, you'll be like, I was fine. That was all right. I don't know if you did this, Dave, but there was something I discovered by accident on the Witch. There's a thing you can do that it's quite hard to pull off, but if you can do it, it makes the fight a lot easier.
Go on.
I'll save it because it sort of spoil it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But I mean, that one thing that we mentioned, I should point out, and this will help you guys as well. A lot of projectiles can be just like, if you time it right, you can fire it back at the person that threw it, and they're very powerful.
Oh, cool. Yep. Okay.
It took me a long time. I got all the way to the boss before I realised you could do that, and I was so frustrated when I found out that I did, because the amount of times that I was running away from those green projectiles, Sean, I was just running away from them and waiting for them to burn out, and I just thought, that could have saved me so much time if I knew that. And what was even worse is that after I did the boss, I went back and checked out some other areas, and I found a sign that said, most projectiles could be hit back with your sword. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I also like that little, that's a nice little touch where you can read a sign, but you can also slice the sign in half, and when you slice it in half and go to read it, the text box at the bottom is sliced in half as well. I thought that was pretty cool.
There's a whole bit. Sorry, again, I won't go into details because I don't want to spoil it. There's a whole bit where there's like all machinery going off, right, and doing stuff, and you have to sort of time a lot of your actions, and it's so fucking good. Basically, like, so the music that's playing at the same time, it's not it's not diegetic, but it's like in time with like all this machinery that's like firing away in the world, and it's just such a good feeling because it's all in sync with the music. You start predicting things, like more accurately than you would if it was just a visual thing. Or if it was just sound effects. It's really hard to explain, but it just feels great when you just like, there's this section where there's all these like pistons and stuff all moving around, and you kind of dodging stuff, getting out of the way of stuff, or using them as platforms or whatever, and you just develop this sort of, I don't know, you're just fucking in sync with it, and it just feels great. And there are bits of that whole section that get really hard, but in such clever ways that, rather than just being like, oh, fucking hell, like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is too hard, I can't do it. You're just like, oh my God, this is great. Like, it's like every sort of slight twist on, every bit where it gets slightly harder, it's almost just like funny. You're just laughing at like the stuff it's throwing at you, and it's so good. I love it.
James, you got to play it, man.
Yep.
You love it.
100%.
Well, Matt, you got to play it as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I was hoping to play it this week, and time ran away from me. But it looks good. I love the art style as well. It looks absolutely lovely, and the stuff you're saying, it's got like a level of strategy and like that kind of stuff, which I didn't anticipate from just seeing trailers of it. So that's really exciting to hear.
I think if it was just puzzles or just the combat, it could get a little bit tiresome. But the fact that it uses both in really interesting ways and has the pacing right between this is a puzzle room, this is a combat room. It never feels like you're tiring of either of those sides of the game.
Yeah, and it doesn't commit that, sin of like, Like, oh, here's like a timed puzzle while there's a fight going on. Or whatever, like there's none of that
yet.
Well,
we're still early on. But we say that, but then apparently it's only like 10 hours long.
Yeah,
which is another bonus.
Well, exactly,
because
these days it's like good.
You don't want these games to go for. But what I don't get is that I'm probably 4.5 to 5 hours in, and the collectibles I've got, there's barely any. So I think I need to maybe go back and look for new weapons and stuff because I haven't found shit.
Yeah, I think you probably could do it in 10 hours, but I think you could stretch it quite a lot if you wanted to.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that I might be going for 100% in this game because I've loved every minute of it so far. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I can't wait to see the next area because I've loved the 2 areas we've done so far. So I can't wait to see what's next. But yeah, if you've not heard of it, Death's Door on PC and Xbox. I can't recommend it enough. I've been itching to get everyone to play it so we can all talk about it a lot more. But yeah, I guess I'll try and get it finished this week. I mean, I've got to, right? I've got to get it finished. I'll get it finished this week. But that's all I've played. Sean, you've played that. Sorry, James.
Have you played any more Chicory at all? Or
I haven't.
No, because I played a little bit more of it, like just a fraction more of it, and then this came out. So I thought, well, I'll play this, and then I couldn't go back to Chicory yet, but I will go back to it.
Same.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Like, so where was I in Chicory? I had done the first, but I'm on like chapter 2. But yeah, I've enjoyed what I've played of it so far. It's just this does a lot of what that does even better, if that makes sense.
Do you think? I don't know if it's fair to compare the two.
No,
I guess it's
not. You're absolutely right. It's not really comparable. But what I'm saying is that looking at the isometric puzzle stuff, I kind of think all I'm doing in Chicory is just pressing paint on the right thing and then removing it. Like that's how I'm getting through those puzzles.
You get more than that later, but yeah, it does.
Well, I'll definitely check it out for sure. But right now, it's all about Death's Door. I can't wait to play more of it. Cool. All right, that's probably it for now. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that some more in the future.
Yeah.
Sean, you've got Pokemon Unite down.
Pokemon
what
Unite.
Is this? I've not even heard of this.
This is the MOBA that they've put out on Switch for free. Well, free to play.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is the one they announced it a while back, and it's by the people who did. What's it called? One of the mobile ones, anyway. It's a Tencent company. Arena of Valor, I think that's the one. I think that came out on the Switch as well. But anyway, yeah. So this got announced. Everyone's like, right, it's going to be a reskin of Arena of Valor. So I don't get on with MOBAs generally, right? I'm shite at them. I don't really get them. I certainly don't enjoy, most of them are obviously very PC focused. Don't really enjoy playing them with a mouse and keyboard, which is essential in order to be good enough. And yeah, just not found them to be an enjoyable experience. This, however, it's pretty good. I'm having a nice time with it. It's not, I'm not saying like, oh, this is the best, this is the one, this is the best MOBA that's ever been. It's probably, I'm guessing that, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably relatively simple compared to, League of Legends or whatever. But it's, do you know what? It's been a nice way in, finally, to a genre that I've really struggled with for a long time. It's basically, it's exactly what you'd expect. You have a roster of Pokemon, and they've got all different roles. Like, I'm not going to explain how MOBAs work. But yeah, you've got attackers, you've got long range, you've got short range, you've got defenders, you've got support characters, there's obviously the standard sort of Pokemon rules of sort of different damage types and stuff being effective or whatever. That's completely gone. That's out the window. But yeah, it's just really nice. So I mainly play as Eldegoss, which is a Pokemon I'd not heard of. I assume it's from the more recent ones. But it's a support character mainly, so you can still you can attack, but its abilities are mainly focused on healing or shielding your mates, or slowing down enemies, or what have you. And it's just cool. It's just been really good fun, like just doing matches where, you know, I'm like, I'll just find like an attacking player who seems to be pretty decent, and I'll stick with them and sort of help them along and back them up, and it's just a really good feeling just smashing through like, you know, enemy goals, scoring loads of points and winning. Like I actually seem to be quite good at this. Like I'm probably like, you know, because all the different Pokemon are sort of arranged in terms of like how difficult they are to play, right? So I've mainly played like novice and sort of intermediate Pokemon. There are advanced ones which are, you know, theoretically better, but more difficult to get the best out of them. Which I probably won't bother with because I'm probably never going to be that good. Like I've not got into the, you know, it's like a big thing with MOBAs of like understanding like what a good or bad matchup is between different characters, right? I'm nowhere near like that sort of level yet. But yeah, just like generally like the pacing of each match is really cool. There's like you know, events like sort of random wild Pokemon show up, like, you know, like there's loads of like rubbish ones just sort of lying around, and they're the, you know, the sort of NPCs that you like pick off just to get some points, like, and some experience together, like early on in the match. But then later on, like more powerful ones start spawning, or like, you know, towards the end of a match, like a Zapdos will appear in the middle of the map, and then whoever takes that out gets a shitload of points. That then, if you can then make it to the enemy goal zones, you can smash the points in. You like, and it's just really exciting because you can have a match where you're just really struggling throughout the whole thing, but if you can fucking get the Zapdos and then sprint to the enemy base, like you can totally turn it around, and it's really cool. Yeah, and it's free, and I've not felt like I've had to spend any money. It's one of those where I've ended up spending enough time on it that I've gone, yeah, do you know what? Like $5 for the battle pass, why not? Isaac loves watching me play it, and he's been a bit poorly the last couple of days, so it's been like really cool. Like he just keeps asking me to put it on, and I'm just like, yeah, go on then, it's fine.
That's the sweet zone, isn't it?
It is.
Oh. Sorry, just bang my mic there.
Have you been playing this with Cammy? Or
I haven't played it with Cammy yet. No, we keep saying we should. We're thinking it'd be fun to try and stream it together at some point. But no, I've just been playing solo so far.
And this is coming to mobile as well,
is it? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm playing it on Switch, and it's been great. Been really nice.
I'm assuming it's okay with various different levels between friends and stuff, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, yeah. There's no. I don't really know how the matchmaking works now that you mention it. It's certainly not like obvious that it's putting you with like similarly skilled people. You do like, obviously there's ranked matches, and then there's friendlies, and then there's like quick matches. And obviously the ranked ones, like, you know, win or lose, it sort of makes your rank go up or down. The quick matches are really interesting because I assumed it was like, oh, well, it's the same as a normal match, but quicker or like shorter. But they're actually like completely different maps. And there's just like a completely different pace to the whole thing. Like you level up much quicker, you start getting your different attacks like really quickly. So they're really interesting as well. Yeah, it's been great. And there's just shitloads to do in it and shitloads of stuff to unlock. It does have that thing of like a free-to-play mobile game where like it feels like every time you finish a match, or every time you load up the game, it's like there's about 5 different icons with like a little red marker going, oh, there's new shit, come and click on everything.
It's my worst
like it
nightmare.
does suffer from that, but yeah, having a nice time with it for now. I'll probably get sick of it at some point and bin it, but yeah, you know what, it's fine.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people tweeting about it, saying actually this is alright.
Yeah, really nice. One weird thing on a technical note, so I was playing it handheld initially. If you go into the options, you can choose like low, medium, or high frame rate. And it says like high frame rate is not recommended when you're playing in handheld mode, but I turned it on and it seems to be fine. I don't know if it just like absolutely cooks the battery or something.
It probably does, yeah. That's probably it, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean,
it's weird that it doesn't spell that out.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't tell you why.
Yeah, it doesn't explain it. But then obviously, if you dock it, yeah, just fuck it. Put it in 60 frames. But then, but it's weird because it's obviously...
fuck it. That can't be an episode title, can it? If you dock it, fuck it.
Have to be.
But it just seems odd because, it's usually the other way around. It's normally like you get a bit, like usually better performance playing in handheld because it's lower resolution or whatever. But yeah, fine. Nice game. Like it. Free.
Cool. James, what have you got for us?
I've had a couple of things. One of them I played with you, which I'll talk about in a second, which was the Operation Tango.
A little bit of a preview there. James
nice.
Doing a little bit of a preview.
Coming up later on TCGS.
But, I mean, the main thing I've been playing is Last Stop, which is on Game Pass. It's out
I didn't know you were playing this. Awesome.
Yeah, I tell you why Matt's saying that. It's the same reason why I text you about it today, even though you'd already told me everything about it. But clearly I wasn't paying much attention. There's been a lot of buzz about this on social media today, isn't there?
Is it?
Yeah,
I've seen loads of people talk about this last stop for the last couple of days.
All I saw is a 7 out of 10 review on PC Gamer, but go on.
Yeah, no. So what was funny is that the 7 out of 10 review on PC Gamer was part of this buzz, but a lot of it was about actually just. By the looks of that review, it was kind of saying, look, this is a very specific type of game for a very specific audience. It wasn't saying that this is an average game, don't worry about it. It was a little bit more.
Yeah, plenty of good things to say about it. It was just,
And what drew my attention to it is that there seems to be a lot of focus on, because it's set in London, right?
It is, yes. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like mundane sides of London represented in this, and that's really interesting. Sorry, James, so tell us about it.
Yeah, you see, this is why I'm surprised, because the only thing I've seen is I saw an IGN review where they gave it 6 out of 10 and just weren't impressed by it or whatever, but then I'm halfway through it and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's great. I mean, it's from the same studio as Virginia, called Variable State, and it's another narrative adventure, but this one is significantly more coherent, at least so far.
Yeah, that was my first question today to you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is it coherent? Because I did not like Virginia at all.
Yeah,
same.
No, this is not
madness.
all like Twin Peaksy or anything like that. It's much more sort of standard sort of narrative, and it takes place in London, and it's got 6 chapters, and then there's like a conclusion, but then within each chapter there's 3 sections where you play as different characters. So you're basically exploring like sort of 3 separate stories, through these 6 chapters. But then I've heard that what happens is that does all sort of come together by the end, which I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that, because occasionally when you're sort of in different parts of the story, you see like other characters that you've previously played as well. Like there's a guy, like one of them, you see him like sitting at a bus stop, and you're like, I wonder what he's doing there. That's where he's off to, because I was playing as him just a minute ago. But there's stuff like that. But then what happens is, you see, one of the characters is a single father. The other appears to be working for some sort of like security services, and then the other one is a secondary school like student, like a girl. And as I said, they don't appear to be connected, but then they do seem to be coming together later. And it feels a lot like Life is Strange to me, but with a lot less interaction and lower production values. But I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it's not like there's not like music going off every 5 seconds of like, trying to make you feel stuff and all that kind of thing. It's much more sort of basic in that, but the presentation is very good. And I mean, I've lived in London briefly before, and it looks, I think you'd like it, Dave, like, because I think the way that they've done it is very good. Like, it's a very stylized look, but it's recognisably the city, I feel. And which I kind of liked, about it. And then, but the thing is that all you have to do, like, the interactivity is very low, and all you do is you really go from one location to another by walking, and then you just have to choose dialogue options. But there's also some of those sort of like heavy rain like sort of interactions where you have to like, press the button at the right time, or, do like a quarter circle turn on like the D-pad to make you lift up a cup of coffee to drink it or whatever. But there's not many of those, and it doesn't have very often.
How did you do on those, James?
Oh, they work as well. This is the thing.
Did you lift up the coffee?
I should point out they do work in heavy rain as well.
They don't. They're awful.
No one else had the problem that you had opening that door.
Yeah, I know, but this was all. Shut up. Anyway, but the thing is, in this, it's not too cumbersome. It's not too irritating. I don't really feel it adds a lot, but occasionally you have to put like some sugar in some tea or something, and it's like, okay, I'm fine with doing that. But the main thing, like with the dialogue options, is that it doesn't. And this is the thing that the IGN review brought up, is that it doesn't seem to matter really what answers you give, because it doesn't seem to dramatically change the outcome at all. Like, this is not a game where at the end of like a chapter it tells you, like what decisions you've made, compared with other people or anything like that. There's zero feedback really on what you're doing. And I mean, they seemed really bothered by this because they felt like, I think it was this sort of idea that, whatever you're doing should be like shaping the story or whatever. But it doesn't. As I said, it doesn't seem to do that. The conversations just flow, and you can feel that the answers are just not being affected at all by this. But this didn't really bother me that much, because I just feel like, you are answering these, and it doesn't seem to be having the impact. But I felt that it was sort of building my character for myself, how I'm how I want the character to sort of represent what I want to be, if you see what I mean, rather than it like.
Yeah, so the impact is on how you view the character
exactly
by the discussions they're having, rather than the impact it's having on the world.
Yeah, and that was the thing. And the thing is, it's like, obviously changing decisions and things like that is probably very good for replayability, but in terms of like just sort of crafting the narrative, it also obviously makes things more complicated because then you get unsatisfying endings and that kind of thing. This is definitely going somewhere, and I'm very curious as to where it's going to go, because it hasn't gone sort of all like supernatural or anything like that, but there are elements to it where I'm just wondering, how does this work? What is up with this? I'm skirting around it because I don't really want to say anything about the story in detail because it will ruin it, I think, from playing it. But so far, I'm really enjoying the stories because they're short, and every time that I shift to a new character to play, after I've finished one of them, it feels like like in Star Wars films, in the good Star Wars films, some of them, where at the end they have like 3 things going on at once usually.
I liked how you narrowed that down then.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars films, the good Star Wars films, some of them. God, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So you're talking specifically about the Battle of Hoth, not the Battle of Hoth, what was the one that, where, something's going up on the ship, and there's also a space battle, and there's also something else going on. Yeah.
So you've got like these 3 like stories going on at kind of the same time, and then it sort of flicks between them. But then you kind of get used to playing, engaging with one of these stories, and then you kind of forget about the other ones. But then when you go back to it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. This was good, and I'm enjoying re-engaging with this story again. And it's been like that throughout the whole of this, which has been really nice. Like I felt very absorbed in each one, which is good.
Does it do the quick cut stuff that Virginia did?
No, I don't think so.
Because that was the one impressive thing that game did, wasn't it? There'll be a moment where you have to walk to an office or whatever, and it goes from you going into the corridor to then cutting to you walking into the office, like, while you're playing it.
But somehow in a way that wasn't like, oh, fuck, what's it doing? Like, it was,
yeah.
It kind of does that, because every time that you go from place to place, it feels very natural, like you're like the movement from place to place, and it's like you'll be walking towards a building, and then it does. Actually, it does. It does those quick cuts where it then quicks you. No, because I was trying to remember how it works in Virginia, but it's very similar. It's a very similar system, and it works. Generally, it works very well. Although occasionally, in walking from place to place, it's not confusing as where to go because they usually signpost it really well. But occasionally, control isn't great. Like, do you remember? See. Okay, in Resident Evil games, one of the things that was really annoying in the not in the more recent ones, but in the old ones, is when it used to flick from screen to screen, then the controls change, so then it kind of does that a bit in places, and also other characters get stuck on scenery and stuff from time to time as well, which kind of breaks the illusion a bit, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not disastrous at all, like when it does that. And as I said, I've just got really absorbed in this. I mean, I'm only about halfway through, but I'm very intrigued as to where the story's going, and I don't really understand why people have not liked it. But then maybe it's because this feels like it is a game that is for me, because I love narrative games like this. Stuff where I'm not.
You do get people that I always see the argument. It's not. Well, I'm not playing the game. Where's the gameplay here? And I kind of get that for people that put that so highly, but I've always kind of liked the narrative stuff. I mean, there was a big discussion around walking simulators when they started coming out, and they were like sort of the in thing, where it was like, do we consider this a game? Because you're not actually doing anything. You're walking around and reading or looking at a cutscene or something. You're not actually interacting with the world that much. And I've always seen that as why define it? Like, why is there got to be?
But also, I think anytime you have agency over this, this is a game. This is something you're engaging with, and the fact that even though you're not, the dialogue choices you're choosing are not having a huge, enormous impact on the story, they still are impacting the story for you as a player. And the way that you're perceiving the character.
Well, it might not be it might not be changing the story, but it's certainly changing your view of that character, isn't it?
Yeah,
or shaping that view of that character. So, there is some sort of view there. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I've downloaded it. It's on Game Pass. It is on Game Pass. That was amazing, because when I saw the reviews, I was like, I think I've got to play this, and then I saw it was £20 on Steam. And I was like, but it's only Windows, and I can't play that. If only I had a Steam Deck now.
Well, it's on Switch as well, because initially I was thinking, I'll play this on Switch. That would be great. But then I was just like, okay, it's on Game Pass. I've got that already. So I'm just going to download it. And
it's crazy.
Again, this is the horrible thing, isn't it? Well, not a horrible thing. This is the good thing about this. Is it's just like, this is one of those games that I feel really suits Game Pass, in the sense that it's like, do you understand what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, it does make sense. It does make sense. It's one of those games where you're kind of like, I want to play it, but it's a risk at 20 quid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It might just be a waste for me. I've got it already in my library. Brilliant. It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to playing this.
And it's also, I'm liking how sort of regional this feels as well, this game. It doesn't... there are a couple of characters who are a bit sort of cringeworthy sort of thing, but in general, I think it's pretty reasonably acted, and the dialogue's pretty good. It's good. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Cool.
This looks excellent. When I saw the pictures and people commenting on the kind of mundane situations, it definitely looked like a Life is Strange style game. And the fact it's on Game Pass as well, I'm downloading this for sure.
Yeah. Wicked. It's just don't expect high production values, because it's not. It's really not as when you go into different environments, there's no... like in Life is Strange, when you go in somewhere, you're like, the first thing you're doing is going around and trying to look at everything and thinking, is this something significant or whatever? It's not like that at all. It's literally just walking from place to place mostly, with some dialogue choices. But I think it works very well for this, because each episode...
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Like, some of the winning in Life is Strange games is that, okay, new location, I'll just crawl around the outside of the location, pressing X until things happen. I like the fact it's probably just... It's not about the location, it's about the story.
Yeah, and it really is. But
there's a place for that, definitely, for sure. Okay, cool.
Then also I played Operation Tango.
That was last stop. We should do that, because that was quite long. That was last stop, by the way. Right, okay, cool.
And it's good. And then Operation Tango, which we played the other day. And
we did.
This is funny, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
I think it is very good, isn't it? It's funny because I hated it kind of in the beginning, really, because it gets so stressful. But it gets so good, doesn't it, when it all comes together? And I genuinely felt we were starting to...
I will say, as a stream, that last level we did, which was literally all this cooperative hacking stuff that we were both doing, I thought it fell apart as a stream during that bit, because we had to constantly concentrate on everything. Everything was timing events, so it was constant, you press this, now I press this, and so we didn't really have the laughs that we had on the first 3 levels. The one on the train, absolutely unbelievably funny. Oh my god, I can't believe what a balls up we made of that whole level.
You say that clip you sent me.
Yeah, as I said last week, I said I felt sorry for James, because people can just see my screen, and so any mistakes that he makes is really obvious, to people watching my screen. But I was making mistakes. When I watched back and watched that first video, there were moments where I was going, go up, like you did to me, because I was looking at the map and you were in the 3D.
That bit at the end, what we were playing, when I was watching that back, I was like, you are making very similar mistakes to me. But the train and it's because of what you see.
The train bit you can't defend.
Totally my fault, that was terrible.
So to explain, if you hadn't seen it, so we had to find a specific person on this train, and we had to hack their phone, and they had a password on their phone, and we had to work out what the password was. I walked onto this carriage, there must have been about 30 or 35 characters, and I said, this doesn't seem right. I can't just go up to random characters and try and hack into their phone, because there's this whole mini game where James had to tell me how many numbers I got right and if they were in the right position and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going around. I said, James, but this can't be right. And he's going, well, it's all the information I've got here, mate. It's all the information I've got here. And then later on, so I'm looking around, we hacked about 3 people's phones, which took a long time. It was like 10 minutes. And then you went, I have got a passenger list. I have got a passenger list. And I said, right, and is this person that we're looking for on it? What was it, Jay Brenning? And I heard you go, I don't know, I doubt it. Brenning. Oh, there's a Jason Brenning. I was like, oh, brilliant. Well, what can you tell me? Oh, they've got these apps on the phone. Well, fine then. I said, does it say what carriage they're in? And you went, nope. And I went, okay. So I went around looking for one, and I found one with like the free apps that it said that they had on their phone, but then also an extra app. So I spent a while trying to hack their phone or whatever. And then out of nowhere, you went, Dave, I do know what carriage they're in. And I was like, what?
The one that got me. So James sort of performatively, like, not knowing things was like, yeah, so, like, wasn't, yeah, you knew you were after someone called, like, yeah, Jay, whatever, Brenning, whatever it was. And then you were like, so are they on the list? And James sort of goes like, well, there's a Jamie Brenning. As if to suggest, like, oh, well, if that's the one you think you want. Yeah, that's definitely him, James.
But yeah, then the level after that, it got way more serious, didn't it? But I think, like, you know, genuinely, if you've got a friend that you think would be a laugh to play a co-op game like this with, then you will have so much fun just arguing and shouting at each other and trying to work it all out. And there's enough ambiguity there to the puzzles, isn't there, where you've got to sort of find the answer yourselves, and that's quite fun, especially when you can't see the other player's screen. I think it does a really good job of doing this stuff. I'm interested to see. I'm assuming there's only one more mission left, because I know it's a really short game. And
no, I think I was told by somebody on the Discord that there's 2 more left, I think.
Okay.
There's 2 missions left.
So hopefully we'll get that finished this week.
Yeah, I think so.
But I've certainly enjoyed my time with it. It's been really good fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
Just quickly, I completely forgot to put it on the list. So I did play the first chapter of We Were Here. You know, I said last week there was this other one that I was aware was like free on PS Plus for a bit, and this is a similar sort of thing where there's 2 of you, and all you can do is communicate via radio. I mean, the budget is a fraction of Operation Tango's. It's clearly been done by like a really small team with not much money, but basically really enjoyable. And it was like the whole lot was on sale. I think is it still on sale? I'm not sure. It was on sale on PlayStation and Xbox. So we bought. So there's 3 chapters, and you basically got the lot for a tenner. So yeah, if you're up for something similar when you're done with Operation Tango and you don't mind it looking a bit rubbish, well worth a look.
I think we might be, Sean.
Yeah, it's currently $1.99. It's currently $1.99 on PlayStation Store, so that's not bad. And then you got the bundle, which is $8.99.
Okay, yeah.
That's how you should get that.
Cool.
Okay, the only other game I played, if I can call it a game, I mean that's that question again, but this is even more questionable as to where it is. Is an FMV game that's called Dark Nights with Poe and Monro.
Right, you streamed this, didn't you?
I did. I streamed it on Friday.
Do I owe you an apology, James?
I don't think so. I mean,
Why did you suggest it, Sean?
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
Just came across the. Did we get an email about it, or I can't remember, or I think I just saw it on the eShop.
There was a trailer for it, and watched the trailer. And I was like, "This does look like it's up my street. Like it could be something which could be interesting to stream." Because it's basically like an FMV adventure game. Apparently, it's a spin-off from another game which I forget the name of, which is apparently supposed to be not bad. Like it's supposed to be quite good because the studio that makes this, they seem to specialise in FMV stuff. Like they've they found a niche and they're doing those again. But I mean, with this, it's got really like incredibly even more minimal choice making that doesn't make any sense at all. Like
what do you mean?
A narrative. Well, okay, it doesn't give you any sort of context as to why you would choose certain things, right? So if I'm trying to think of a good example, you're standing next to a door. One character, like there's 2 characters standing next to a door, and then suddenly it will just pop up with choose one of these characters, and I'm like, but what for? Like, what's going to happen if I choose one of them? Yeah. Like, what difference is it going to make? Like, usually if you're choosing,
the one I saw, it was like it showed you a typewriter or something, and one of the other characters, and the selection thing was on their forehead. It was like, what?
So what do I do? What's the point? Like, because the thing is like if you think about like dialogue choices, they usually give you a line or something that gives you an indication as to why you're choosing this. So it's never clear why you're choosing, like this. Although I mean, a couple of times it is where it's like sort of like, okay, are you going to untie this person or this person? But in general, it's just there's no clue. Like right at the beginning, it's like because basically what it is the 2 characters are hosting this sort of radio show. which I don't think has any listeners or anything at all. It feels like the whole thing's made up. Like
too close to the bone.
Sure, it wasn't a podcast about video games.
It seemed to be quite similar, actually. But then it's like you get a choice, like because there's this like sinister phone call that comes in, and then it's like you're supposed to figure out if you're going to cut the person off, play a stupid sound, or have a conversation. But it's not clear, like which one to click. And I just randomly clicked it, and they just cut the person off. And I was like, okay, well that's fine. But narratively, it's a complete mess because even though there are 6 stories like through the whole thing, and it's not clear really whether the stories are linked in any way. I'm going to spoil it. In the first episode, I ended up like murdering somebody. Like, well, it wasn't me, one of the characters murdered somebody, but then by the end of it, that person seemed to be not murdered any longer, and then they were talking about them in another episode as well, and it was just really strange. And also, it's all things like, this person's been hit over the head with a fire extinguisher, they're not breathing, they must be dead. Didn't call the police, nothing at all. It's so odd, like the entire thing is so odd, because it doesn't make any logical sense, like what's going on at all, and the characters are also like thoroughly unlikable as well. Like you're playing with them, you're just thinking this person's a twat. Like I don't care like what they're doing at all. It's insane, and I'm just not sure what it is trying to say or achieve. Like I don't know.
You got to get to the end, mate. It might all come together.
It might do. I mean, I'm going to play because this is the thing. It's just so bad, and I'm going to play it again this week because the chat seemed to be, I think, enjoying it because I was streaming it. And because I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this. And they were like, no, you should finish it. At least finish it. So, I mean, I can finish it, I think, in the next... Because it's not very long at all. But it's just... I don't know. It's got very strong... I don't know. It's just bad.
I think you like it. I think deep down you like it. You know what you like. There's
no, I don't think I do because it doesn't make any sense. Like, so much of it doesn't make any sense.
I hope that by the time he finishes it, he's just going to be like, no, right, I didn't understand at the time. It's really fucking complex, and I've done a chart where I've.
If that's the case, that'd be amazing. If that is the case, if it's like actually these 3 stories that I've played so far that made absolutely no narrative sense whatsoever, if it's all building up to something, that'll be incredible, and it'll be Game of the Year. Like if they managed to do that.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the
Game of the Year contender.
Definitely.
That's quite a high praise. Also, can I just point out, James, when you're talking about a character killing another character in a video game, you don't have to specify that it's not actually you doing it. We can assume that you're not in the game. I wasn't
controlling the character. No, what I meant was I wasn't controlling that character when it happened.
This person got murdered. I didn't actually commit murder.
It wasn't James Farley doing it.
I promise
it wasn't me. It was in a video game.
None of this is real.
I mean, if you're interested in this, go and watch James's stream. It's on our YouTube channel. It's very bizarre. The acting is quite interesting.
It's something, isn't it? It's really something.
It's something. There is something going on in that game. I just really hope that you come on next week and you, as Sean says, you're like, oh my god!
So this has blown my mind.
Yeah,
it's absolutely blown my mind.
And then you can go to play. There's another game called The Shape-Shifting Detective, which I believe has the same characters in it.
That's the one. That's the one. It's a spin-off from. Right. But apparently that's supposed to be good. But then, if it's like this, then I'm not sure.
Maybe you're just missing context from that game. That's why this one doesn't make any sense.
It could be that. It could be that. Yeah. It's just the characters, man. They're just It's just never mind.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Okay. That's what we've been playing this week. So, Sean, it's time to get to our listeners' questions.
Blimming questions time, innit? If you want to send us a question or just, have a go at us or whatever, go to tcgs.co/Dear TCGS.
Sean, don't invite that.
He doesn't need to invite it. It happens anyway.
Yeah. Doesn't make any difference, does it?
Don't ask for more.
Yeah, if you want to eat your dinner tonight, then go ahead and eat your dinner tonight. It's the same effect. We're getting it regardless.
If you want to send us questions or have a go at us or say something nice to us or just something completely neutral, a balanced viewpoint, how about that for once?
Yeah? Good. Go on.
Go to the website. Miriam Mendieta says, Dear TCGS, go, 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 go. I share listener Ruzzy's opinion about the Operation Tango stream being hilarious to watch, but I also hope it was rewarding to play. While it may be uncommon to fully complete a game with all of life's demands, what is the best reward you've known a game to give players for this kind of time investment? Going over 100% in the formidable Crash 4 apparently awards you 2 bonus endings in a game not known for its narrative and calluses on your thumbs. Keep up the exemplary work.
For me, it's what you get after you beat Ornstein and Smo in Dark Souls. Like, that was such a huge thing for me. I don't think you guys reacted the same way as I did.
Yeah, no, it was huge.
Yeah, I know Sean and Matt didn't seem that... Matt and James didn't seem that bothered, because I watched like Matt get that and realise what it was, and he was... Oh, I can say what it is now, can't I?
Yeah.
The game's been out for a while. So Dark Souls is a game where you have to walk everywhere and it takes ages and there's loads of really hard enemies on the way and it's really frustrating to get from one place. There are times where you can get cursed down in the depths and that means you have to go right the way back up to the Undead Berg, all the way back up there just to heal yourself and then go all the way back down to the depths. And when you're down in the depths, that journey feels awful.
Yeah.
I mean...
And you might just get cursed again. And you might...
It's the equivalent of walking up to your flat or whatever, sitting down, turning the telly on, taking your shoes off, taking your coat off, all that, just sitting down, chilling out, and then remembering that you've left your phone in the car and thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. It's an awful feeling. You beat Ornstein and Smo, you get something that lets you fast travel between bonfires, and it is life changing. Yeah, it's such a rewarding experience.
And it's not even every bonfire; it's just a few key ones, isn't it? But even so,
yeah. And only if the Soul Keepers are still alive, as you later find out, because that's a bit of a shock when that goes away. But that was probably the first. Well, it's the standout time for me where I just went, oh my god, this reward is totally changing everything. This is brilliant. Yeah.
That was definitely a big relief, I'll say that much. By that point, I was still in a pit of despair.
Yeah, that's what killed it for you. It was when we were doing Dark Souls and, Dark Calls, and James sort of rung up and just went, oh yeah, I've got the reward. That's cool. Anyway, where do I go next? And I'm like, do you not realise how cool this is that you can do this now? Yeah, that was class.
And it's one of the few times in that game that you meet a genuinely benevolent figure, right?
Yes.
Even though she's an illusion, but spoilers.
Yes. Sean?
I think just in terms of feeling rewarded, or I don't know, feeling like an ending was like a celebration of having finished the thing. I think Okami is probably up there, because that's got a very long ending sequence, and it does this really nice thing of is it? Maybe it's not quite the ending sequence, but it's the whole build up towards the ending. It does this really nice thing of revisiting all the characters that you've met on this 60, 70 hour journey, and it's and some of them you've not seen in the game for 50 plus hours, which could be weeks in real life, and it's oh man, yeah, I remember them, and it just gives you this really nice impression of this massive fucking journey you've been on. In terms of feeling rewarded, I think Okami's definitely one of them. Back in the day, the ending to Star Fox or Starwing, I can't remember why, I just remember it feeling just grand as fuck, and the amazing sort of fanfare, the soundtrack and stuff, and bits of extra dialogue, which is obviously back in the day. It's oh my god,
that's not a physical reward though, is it?
I don't think that's what Maria means, is it? I think it's just...
I was just feeling that reward of the achievement of doing something. Because that's always killed me a little bit. James, when you get something I think it was in Spider-Man, it was the best suit was when you unlock everything 100%. And it's well, what's the fucking point then?
Yeah, I'm never going to use that.
What am I going to do when I've got that suit on? Just walk about for 20 minutes and go, oh, there's nothing to do now, I'll turn it off. I've never been into the Endgame Plus stuff. There's not been a game where I've been right, I'm going to do Endgame Plus now. So all that sort of stuff is lost on me. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I suppose I've bent the rules a little bit by mentioning the Ornstein and Smo stuff, but my word, does that feel like a time investment when you get to that point? So I'm going to take it. James, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, similar to Sean, I mean, I'm going to say this name wrong again. I know I am, and you're just going to rip into me. Let me try and say it right. Similar to Akami, Ocarina of Time. Is that right?
No.
How do I say it? Say it again.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time.
It's
Ocarina
unbelievable that you get this wrong every time. Like,
no, because what happens is I have to try and avoid saying Ocarina of Time because that's wrong, and then I say Ocarina of Time and that's wrong.
Just say the right
thing. Say it again.
Say it again. It's an instrument. It's not a made-up word.
I know. Okay, Dave, just say it again, and I'll try.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. Okay, yeah. So the ending of
that
Ocarina
game has been
of
out
Time
for a long time.
No. But that game also has a very similar ending to Akami, I think, where it does the same sort of thing, where you like see all the characters and that sort of stuff, and it's like see everyone like sort of chilling together and like celebrating what you've achieved, and it's brilliant. It's such a nice ending to that, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Cool. Yeah, the ending of it, is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's good. I love the ending of Mario Odyssey. With the whole climbing up the tower and Cappy going, hey, we've been through a lot together. And it's like, oh my god, we have as well, yeah.
also Mario 3D World as well. Like when you properly 100% complete that game, and it's got like the you go through these pipes at the end, and it just like spells out like thank you and stuff like that, and it's just that was really great. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, see, because Odyssey was the first time I saw them do that, but they've done that a number of times, haven't they? Mm-hmm. So that really got me in Odyssey, where it was like the Dead Sound.
I absolutely love that.
Well, okay.
Well,
didn't earn it, but yeah.
Well,
exactly.
What? Because I did a cool backflip and you couldn't.
Glitched the game.
I don't know how it's.
They patched.
They didn't glitch the game. Well, it's not glitching the game to use a jump, is it?
If that's the case, why did they patch it out?
No, it's a different one. You're thinking about a different one. You're thinking about one where someone like hopped from one end of the map to the other.
Okay.
I didn't use that one.
No.
I use a backflip on the lift.
Okay.
That's not the one they patched out.
All right.
You're getting very confused, David.
No, I don't know if I am.
Should we move on?
Are you thinking like I think is it like you can be a frog or you can frog hop from one end of the level to the other? I didn't do that.
Didn't you miss that whole bit?
Yeah, I thought you'd skipped a bit because you did.
You skipped a bit.
Well, I basically did a backflip on the left, which meant I kind of went past a bit where the blocks push you into lava.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Not quite the same.
The next question comes from Matt, brackets, not Murray. He says, does David have long arms, or is it just an unusual perspective in every photo I've ever seen of him? This has been crossing my mind for several years now. Sorry and thank you.
I've had weird things like this. A lot of people talk about my feet looking massive in photos. Long arms. When I'm assuming they're talking about the work photos that I put out on Twitter recently.
Oh yeah.
The person that took them said, "Well, this is weird. Your hands look like way too big for some reason, so we might not use this one." So maybe I don't know. What do you guys think?
I've never noticed.
I've not noticed
it, but now I'm not going to be able to not notice it.
I'm going to be like, every time we're hanging around you, every time you like move your arms, going to be like, "Wait, careful, mate, fucking."
I have great hugs. I'm a really good hugger.
Long-armed twat.
Yeah, I'm a great hugger. I'll give out good hugs.
Okay.
Is that a weird thing to say? I don't know.
It is now. I think you can't. Don't be saying
it's
that.
just it's borderline, like one of those people who has like a sign saying free hugs or whatever. It's like, nah, don't be weird. Stop it.
Those tan Air Force Ones were probably a mistake. I think they really stick out and make my feet look massive. But yeah, so it's probably I won't go down that route.
Yeah, I think they're a mistake in general, but yeah, definitely.
What? You're kidding me? I think they're class, but they just make my feet look massive.
Hang on,
You're not a fan of
what size feet you got?
How could you not be a fan of that? They look like normal boots or whatever, but they're Nike Air Force Ones, man. What? Okay. All right. I'm not getting offended by fashion advice from Matt Murray. I'm going to get over that pretty quickly.
What size feet you got, Dave?
10.
Oh, that's not massive.
It's average, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
pretty
average.
standard.
Yeah,
It's the same as me. It's basically you're fucked if there's a sale on because it's the size it always goes.
Yeah, because you will not get the shit. What size are you then? You're 10.
I'm like 9.5, 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. James, 12.
9. No,
9. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Matt,
7.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
He might do all right in the sales.
That's fine. That is okay. That is.
We need to examine that any
You know
further.
what they say?
MD Kraboffs.
You know what they say, and it's fine.
It's weird to get an email. It's like, is David just weird or what? Is David weird looking? The answer is yes.
The answer is even if he's not, I have been given the impression via photographs.
I think that's the obvious next step.
You can measure
your
my
arms.
Yeah,
Should we just post all our particulars on the internet?
Arm measurements,
arm length.
Can we get digitally scanned?
Oh my god, yeah. Make it a Patreon reward. Look, you can 3D print one of us.
That'd be great for the store, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'd do all right out of that.
Oh, I don't know if we will.
MD Kraboff says, have you ever been to a reunion?
Oh, have I? Well, yes, I have. Yeah, technically I have. Yeah, to a work reunion. But I used to work at Home Base head office, and they did one. Actually, I was supposed to be going
a work reunion. That is weird.
Yeah, it was a very specific time because I was there when when the company relocated from London to Milton Keynes, and that's when I moved up to Milton Keynes. But I lasted like 2 years, and there was a massive fallout around that time where loads of people got made redundant, loads of people left, and all sorts. So it didn't feel like just a random point in time in this thing. It felt like a bit of a pivotal moment. My wife meets up, but she still sees this group of people she used to work with because it was at a time where they all got made redundant or they all lost their jobs or whatever, and shops closed down and that. So they've all sort of kept their friendship together based around where they worked. So this one, it was from that time period where there was a big group of people, it was a big social scene there. And occasionally we meet up, and we were actually supposed to meet up just before, I think it was March 2020, we were all supposed to meet up. And then it was like, okay, well, that's not happening anymore. So I'm sure that'll happen at some point. But that's a little bit different. I don't think I could go to a school reunion.
No, fuck that noise. Jesus Christ.
I wasn't that popular at school.
I would absolutely love to do that.
Would you?
Really?
If there has been one, I haven't been invited, and if there hasn't been one, then there needs. That would be just absolutely amazing to go back and.
You had a different time at school than I did.
Yeah, Jesus Christ,
I'd hate to go back and see it. Those people.
I have zero interest at all about doing it.
Yeah. Did you have a good time at school then, Matt?
I did until year 11 when I got bullied. But I've always loved school. I've still got some of my closest friends in the world, from school. But it'd just be fascinating to go back and just see who goes back, who didn't go to prison. It'd just be fascinating. And also, I'll say to Roy Barrett, mate, you borrowed my Mortal Kombat strategy guide. Are you going to give it back or what? You're taking a piss now. It's been 27 years.
Have you looked him up on Facebook?
No, he's probably dead.
What?
But yeah, I would just be all in prison. I just would love to see who's still around. It would be fascinating.
Still around? Surely.
Yeah,
how many of them are you expecting to have died?
Yeah. What was going on in your school to reduce the life expectancy that much?
I think if you live in Bognor Regis, there's definitely a hit. There's a ceiling to that. I would love to. It'd be absolutely fascinating.
See, I can't think of anyone outside of people I was friends with at the time that I would like to see at a reunion. My school's full of arseholes. So, and not like I wasn't bullied or anything. Just didn't.
There's a few mates that I'd like to see again, but it wouldn't be at like a proper reunion.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of my friends from the Brit school met up. Not too long, it was a couple of years ago. And that was absolutely fantastic seeing all them again. But we wouldn't go to a Brit school reunion. That would never happen.
Yeah.
We were very unpopular in that school.
So, Matt, if you did go to a reunion, what would you wear?
What do you mean? I wouldn't wear the uniform. I haven't got that.
I know you wouldn't wear the uniform.
May I suggest some tanned Air Force Ones.
Absolutely not. That's a good question, actually, Sean. I mean, I'd wear what I wear normally, but were you implying? What would I wear some of the stuff I couldn't afford at the time?
Like, I really sort of make the point.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what? I am going to get a leather trench coat, actually.
Yeah, I can afford these Patrick Ewing basketball shoes, actually. So, up yours. Yeah, that would be
the temptation to go in costume, just basically play a character.
Oh, God, yeah. Hire a limo to take you there, and then you get out.
Oh,
like, I got into Bitcoin, didn't I?
Pay people to scream outside, whatever, these guys again.
What would you do if someone in your class just went, "Oh, Matt, I'm a huge fan of your podcast. Thank you." You've mentioned a bunch of other people from our school, but you've
never mentioned me.
Never mentioned me.
To have mentioned me.
Yeah. I mean, you'll walk in there, Matt, and they'll be like, "Look, it's Mr. T-shirts. He's around."
Well, I mean, the other David Turner will be there.
Oh my God!
So
there you go.
I'll be seeing what he's
take him out.
Prevent
any
I keep getting tweets about stolen cereal. Matt, what's this all about?
Bento. I wonder if Robert Alton will be there.
Right, okay. Anyway, you're not name dropping people no one knows. Right, let's go.
Alex79 UK. Inspired by your Krypton Factor talks over, which 80s TV game show do you each think you'd actually stand a chance of winning, and why? Cheers all. Thanks for letting us live
Funhouse.
it.
Oh, Joe, Matt, I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Is a good...
Definitely Funhouse.
No, but I've seen you go-karting and you're shit.
Go-karts.
You're terrible at go-karting. So
I might be worse. I'm terrible at go-karting.
You've never seen me go-kart?
No, I'm talking about Matt.
Oh, okay.
What? I'm good at go-karting. Let's not bring in the fucking Butlins races.
No, let's. I want to hear about the Butlins races. What happened?
Well, we said it before. We raced once, and Matt was going, "Oh, I had a dodgy cart because I beat him." So we raced late.
Yeah, I think I did that time.
Was it the next year? We did it again. It was like an annual thing. Yeah. And then he was like, "Okay, this one, I'm going to go on this car now because I've been watching it." I was like, "Okay, all right, go."
I don't think I made a point. You can't decide which car you go on.
Yes, you can. They gave us the option the second time. Way, you definitely chose your car.
I was going to say, what criteria would you base that choice on, Matt? I got bad feeling about bad vibes off this one. Can I have a different one?
This one looks fast.
And then I beat him again.
Yeah. Well, anyway, look, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. But what I'm saying is, Funhouse.
I don't know what happened
every time I watch Funhouse, I was like, man, those go-karts. Like, some of my friends are like, bloody hell, those twins. I was like, no, the go-karts. The go-karts.
Why are you supposed to be doing a go-kart at the stag do that you're supposed to be going on? Wasn't there an element of that?
It was that was like a VR simulator, Project Cars,
and you suddenly had to self-isolate. Interesting. When the
no, that event didn't happen at all.
Okay,
yeah. So that's still up in next year. So I've got even longer to practice on Project Cars. Definitely Funhouse, definitely go-karting, and just all them things. I'm just like, I'd love to be on that.
I think it's a knockout. I think I'd be alright. Yeah, I think I'd be alright at that sort of stuff. Just like running and avoiding being hit. I think I could do that. Don't look too hard.
I think Blockbusters.
I was going to say Blockbusters.
I read a book a week.
Shit at that. I'd be all for that.
Me and James would be alright.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Read a book a week.
Intellectuals, aren't we, James? That's what
that's Blockbusters.
2 gold runs.
I'm trying to think, would we be any good at Nightmare? I wish we could do Nightmare.
Oh my God.
I wish there was a company that... Why isn't there a company?
Why is that not a thing?
There absolutely must be one in London. There must be.
God, we've got... If there is, we've got to do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think they'd let us film the whole thing.
Who'd be in a helmet? That's the question.
Not me.
James,
Farley.
obviously.
It's got to be Farley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be James Farley. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Most exciting place to be.
I mean, there's Golden. There's Crystal Maze. Like, so you think Nightmare would be there as well? It just feels like it's made for it.
See, Crystal Maze, right? Crystal Maze, because it's one of those where when you watch it as a viewer, and sort of 9 out of 10 of the challenges, you're like, oh, come on, this is how you do it, you idiot. Why aren't you doing it properly? But you know that if you were actually to do it, it would be that 10th one that you're just like, oh no, actually, I have no idea. Fucking no clue.
There's a classic one you've got to see. You search for it on YouTube. I'm sure it will be put on that playlist of videos that we built. There's a brilliant video of the production team watching someone try and do one of those challenges. What it is, it's a maze that you had to crawl through, but it's full of mirrors. So it's like, the funhouse sort of things where you're walking through a maze and it's full of mirrors, but they're crawling through it. And it's so funny. Like, they're reaching out and trying to grab the gem that's in the mirror, not realising that it's actually just right next to them. But they keep trying to claw at this mirror to get to the crystal. Yeah, sorry. Of course it is. The gem
it's
maze.
Not called gem maze.
Well, no, but I know what is. This podcast episode. That's definitely the gem maze. So reaching out for this crystal or whatever, and you can just hear that, there's shots of the production team going, what is he doing? And they're just laughing at him. Look for that video because it's well worth a watch. It's a well worth charity. Right, is that it for questions?
I was just going to say that there's no way we'd ever be allowed to do it, but fucking hell, if we could just do an escape room with the four of us with GoPros on our heads, get the footage and just edit it together afterwards.
There's got to be a way of doing it. And they let Chris Pratt do it. So surely they can let us. Yeah, Chris Pratt's got this whole thing about...
Because I thought there's with escape rooms, there's a big sort of please don't post this online or anything because it ruins it.
Yeah, no, that's it. So I think there was a note on there. They explained a bunch of the puzzles on there. So
okay,
yeah, they did do that. But watch that. That's a good video, by the way.
Just need to be as big as Chris Pratt then.
Yeah, I think we're there, aren't we? We're there, guys. Come on.
Just if we believe we are.
A few more years.
Fine.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to end on that note, are we?
That's all the questions.
No, we're not.
No, of course we're not. We got the socials, Matt. Let's go.
Exactly. Let's bring it back up, you know what I mean? Thursday night, James and Dave will be playing Operation Tango, possibly finishing Operation Tango. That is Thursday night from 9 p.m. But the night after, James is on again for some Dark Nights with Poe and Monro. They're both on twitch.tv/TCGS code. And if you have Amazon Prime, oh my God, you've got Twitch Prime Gaming. You get one free sub a month for that. You can give it to us. It's unbelievable. The value. And we really appreciate it, actually. And if you miss them live, you can search for TCGS on YouTube. We're on patreon.com/TCGS, where the bonus show's out for this month, and the talk server's done on the weekend. That's there as well for patrons. And TCGS.co is a website with links to our Discord and other stuff. And one other thing to mention, it's taken me many, many months, some would say years, but finally, Dark Calls is coming back, and the rerun starts this Friday with episodes 1 and 2 available from this Friday, and every Friday from there on out until April 2022 there's a new episode of Dark Calls. It was online obviously a few years ago, and we took it off because it was part of an old feed. Anyway, they're coming back now every Friday from this Friday onwards.
If you don't know what Dark Calls is, it's a podcast that James and I did between JoyPod and TCGS, where James had never played Dark Souls and I played it once through the year before, and James had to try and get through Dark Souls by calling me and asking what to do. But, of course, I couldn't remember half of it, so I was struggling to remember myself and guide him through the series. And so if you're into Dark Souls and you've not heard that podcast, you absolutely should listen to that podcast on the rerun, because it's...
Yeah, so that won't be on this feed. It's on a different... It's on the actual Dark Calls feed. So search for Dark Calls on all your favourite podcast apps, and it'll be there. It'll also be on YouTube. Every Friday, like I said, the first 2 episodes will be dropping us once this Friday, and then every Friday on after that. And yeah, it was filmed. Was it 2015? It was recorded 2015. So there's lots of talk about the announcement of the Switch and that kind of stuff, which I think is fascinating to listen back on.
I think in the first episode we talked about Dead or Alive for a while, James, if I remember correctly.
We did, yeah. I don't remember. I need to listen back to them.
Yeah, so search for Dark Calls on all your podcast services and apps, and then the first episodes will be out this Friday.
Cool. We will catch you next week. We hope you have a great week. We love you all, and thanks for living it. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.